What they do? What they do, y'all? It's your boy KD in the building, man. What's going on with y'all? Salute to the real boxing fans out there. Salute to the real boxing fans, none of the fanboys. Salute to the real boxing fans. You heard? If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that sub button. Make sure you hit that like button. If you've already been here, whatever else the case is. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to talk some boxing today. You know what I'm saying? We're going to talk some boxing. So, yeah, man, man, oh, man, oh, man. Tyson Fury stops Deontay Wilder in the 11th round. In what was a barn burner of a goddamn fight. And when I mean a barn burner, I mean a barn burner. I mean multiple knockdowns on both sides. Tyson Fury knocked down Wilder in the 3rd round one time. Wilder knocked down Tyson Fury 2 times in the 4th round. And then Tyson Fury ended up knocking down Wilder later on 2 more times in the later rounds, and then the fight ended up getting stopped by the referee. This was a legendary fight, man. Terry Smoot in the building, man, with the tears. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Terry Smoot. Shout out to my guy Terry Smoot. Yes, sir. Yeah, man. I was really rooting for Wilder, man. I wanted Wilder to win. I felt like Wilder, what Malik Scott was training him to do should have been good enough for him to succeed with, you know. But there's a lot to unpack here, though, man. There's a lot to unpack here. But before we go any further, man, let's just make sure we give Tyson Fury credit where credit is due. Tyson Fury retains his title and remains the WBC and the lineal heavyweight champion of the world, undefeated, 31-0. Congratulations to him for defeating Deontay Wilder in what was an amazing fight. You know what I'm saying? It was a damn good fucking fight, man. This is what boxing is about. You know what I'm saying? Fights like this. This was a 1970s fight. You know, this was a Ali Frazier type of fight. This was an all-time heavyweight clash, you know, in an epic way to close out a trilogy, you know. It was a damn good fight, man. You had 2 warriors that put it all on the line tonight. They put it all on the line. And one of the warriors fell short, you know what I'm saying? And because somebody has to lose. But I think at the end of the day, everybody won, you know. The fans won. Both Wilder and Fury won. They made very good accounts of themselves in the ring. None of them have anything to be ashamed of. 2 warriors, you know, battling it out. And I mean, what more can you ask? What more can you ask as a boxing fan? You really can't. You know what I'm saying? So congratulations to once again to, I mean, everybody won, but congratulations to Tyson Fury for retaining that WBC and lineal heavyweight belt. Now on to the fight, man. Man, oh man, oh man. We're gonna have to talk about this fight, man, because there's a lot to unpack here. Okay. There's a lot to unpack. So I want to say the first two rounds, Wilder came out. He came out jabbing to the midsection, jabbing to the head. Okay. He was using tactics that I thought were very much needed. Okay. If you look at some of my prediction videos, if you look at my final thoughts video where I was talking about the fight and I was talking about what Wilder needed to do in order to do well in this kind of fight, he needed to be active. Okay. He needed to be busy. He needed to keep some punches in front of Fury. He needed to back Fury up. And in the first 2 rounds, that's exactly what Wilder did. Okay. He landed some jabs to the body. He landed some straight right hands to the body, some jabs up top. He kept Fury on his back foot. He kept Fury backing up. And then here and there, he would catch Fury with a right hand. Now, the thing about it is, when he would catch Fury with some right hands, Fury would take the right hands pretty well. All that added weight, worked this armor. Okay. And it did very well for Fury because he was able to take those right hands pretty well for the first few rounds. I believe he got hit with maybe two of them. So there's something to be said about that. So Wilder did a very good job in the first two rounds, backing Tyson Fury up and everything like that. One thing that went wrong for Wilder is when he was able to hurt Tyson Fury. What ended up happening to him is he would kind of jump the gun early, and then I believe he ended up kind of punching himself out. This was probably around round 3, ended up punching himself out and getting caught by Fury. And it ended up kind of going wrong for him in that third round because he got dropped in that third round with something that really hurt him. Asante Asar is in the building. What's going on with you, fam bam? Make sure you smash that like button one time for your boy. Asante says Wilder abandoned the game plan in round 3. No jabs, not enough punches to keep Fury off of him. But congrats to Fury for the win. Absolutely, man. That's the same thing I was saying, man. I was just going over that, man. Yeah, man. The game plan was working for the first 3 rounds. Wilder was jabbing to the head, jabbing to the body. He was backing Fury up. He kept Fury on his back foot. He was being active. He was being first. And then he hurt Fury. I believe in the third round, and he got overzealous. And that's one thing about Wilder, man. He sometimes he gets impatient, and he ends up kind of, going balls to the wall too quickly when his opponent isn't really hurt like that, isn't hurt as much as he thinks it is. So he ended up kind of going balls to the wall and ended up getting hurt coming in by Fury, and then ended up getting dropped in that third round. And I think that's when everything changed because after that third round, after Wilder got dropped, he kind of reverted. He reverted back to the Wilder that we're used to seeing. However, the thing about that is in that fourth round, he was actually able to land the right hand. They actually ended up dropping Fury twice in that fourth round because he hurt Fury pretty bad. But I think actually that him dropping Fury was probably a bad thing because he saw that the right hand had worked, and then afterwards he just continued to just rely on it like he did in the past. So he got away from doing all the things that he was doing. He got away from jabbing to the body. He got away from jabbing up top, using the jab at all. He got away from throwing any hooks. I think I saw him throw a few uppercuts, which was really good. I had mentioned before in the final thoughts that I saw him being able to fight a little bit on the inside. So I saw him fight on the inside, and I could see the work that he did on his inside game. He shortened up his punches a little bit on the inside. He was able to get some good work in, land some good punches in the midst of those exchanges. But ultimately, aside from being able to fight on the inside, he really reverted. Is really what ended up happening. He reverted. He ended up throwing he ended up just throwing one right hand at a time, 1-2s, 1-2s, 1-2s. But but the thing about it is, I want to say though, is Fury was more or less doing the same thing. Like normally we see Fury throw a lot of feints and things like that, but he wasn't really doing that so much in this. He was really just throwing a lot of 1-2s. They were both throwing a lot of 1-2s back and forth. It was a battle of 1-2s. Fury at times would throw 1-2-3, which was probably be the difference. But for the most part, most of it was just 1-2s back and forth. I gotta say that heavyweights in general, they kind of upset me because of their lack of just boxing acumen in general. They just don't. There are very simple things that they just don't do. That they just, I don't know what it is. They're just not equipped for it, or I don't know. But anyway, aside from the point, we go into the later rounds, and what ends up happening is Wilder starts gassing out. He knocks down Fury in the fourth round, and then afterwards, he maybe wins another round or two. Maybe I would say he won the fifth round and possibly even the sixth round. But after that, he kind of gasses out. He goes for the kill. And one thing I can say is Fury came in this fight in really good condition. He came in the fight in really good condition because he was able to kind of maintain a pretty good pace despite carrying around 280 pounds. And I said it also in my pre-fight thoughts that 280 pounds is a lot to carry around, and most heavyweights or most people carrying around that type of weight wouldn't be able to do it. So I mean, even though I feel like Fury was equally as exhausted as Wilder, I feel like Fury's poker face was a little bit better, and he was able to kind of like cope with the fatigue a little bit better than Wilder, and thus giving him the ability to kind of propel himself or do better later on as the fight continued. And Wilder had some successes here and there, as the fight continued. But for the most part, it just went back to being right hand dominant, throwing right hands and hoping that they land. And they became very, very telegraphed, very, very telegraphed. Which goes to show you that Fury is not that great of a boxer, because honestly, I don't think anyone who's a real good boxer would get hit by any of those right hands. But Fury got hit by a few of those, and ended up, Wilder hurt him a few more times, and got to him a few more times, and it was a good ass fight, man. It was a good fucking fight, man. We had two warriors in the ring doing their damn thing, man, and it was great. It was great. But one thing I'll say, man, and I said it before and I'll say it again, man. One thing I'll say is, and I picked Tyson Fury. I picked Deontay Wilder to win this fight in the 8th round by stoppage, and Tyson Fury ended up stopping Wilder. But one thing I say, man, is I definitely picked wrong as far as that's concerned. But one thing that I said that definitely ended up being the case is this fight definitely ended up being much different than the second fight. It ended up being much different than the second fight. And I said this before in my pre-fight thoughts, and I'll say it again now. The fact that this fight was so much different than the second fight goes to show you that there was something with that second fight. Fury versus Wilder was always a 50-50 fight. It was always a fight that was a seesaw battle. That was a back and forth war. It was always supposed to be like that. That's how it was in the first fight. So, I mean, the fact that it was so different in the second fight, I think speaks volumes. Because you don't run over somebody in the second fight, and then in the third fight, you're going back and forth, fighting for your life in a war, and I think it just, it is what it is, man. I mean, it was a war. It was a great fight. I think Fury deserves, even though he deserves credit for the win, he definitely deserves some side eyes. And he deserves some criticism for whatever the fuck took place in that second fight, because whatever took place in that second fight, it was completely different than what we saw in this third fight. And it was completely different than what we saw in the first fight, And this was always a much closer fight than what was portrayed in that second fight, But all in all, man, this was a really good fucking fight, man. A really, really good fight, man. I'm finna drop the link, man. If anybody want to come through, man, y'all could come through. We could chop it all the way up on here, man. I know it's late. I know a lot of y'all niggas got bedtimes and shit. You know what I mean? There go the link. Anybody trying to come through could come through. Wilder abandoned. Asante Asar says Wilder abandoned the game plan in the third round. No jabs, not enough punches to keep Fury off of him, but congrats to Fury for the win. Absolutely. I already read that. I'm tripping. I already read that. Yeah, man, he definitely, but to reiterate, man, he definitely abandoned the game plan. 155%, man. He abandoned the game plan. He got away from doing the things that brought him success in the early rounds. He got away from those things. He got away from those things. He got away from jabbing to the body, throwing the straight right hand to the body. I thought that was beautiful. But not only that, he ran out of gas after the sixth round. He completely ran out of gas after the sixth round. And I get it, I get it because he had been knocked down at that point. He had knocked Fury down at that point. He had hurt Fury so many times and attempted to stop Fury so many times during those other 5 rounds. I mean the conditioning of Tyson Fury. I mean the conditioning of this dude. You know, to be able to it's crazy to me to be able to carry around 280 pounds and go 11 rounds at a consistent pace like that when you just started training, according to reports 3 weeks ago. Fury deserves criticism, man. I mean, I don't trust Fury. I don't trust Fury at all. It sounds like some bullshit. Asante Asar says another thing that bothers me was the brother never took his head offline and never attempted to stick and move. Absolutely. Yeah, man. Yeah, Wilder doesn't move his head, man. That's one of the flaws about him. You know what I mean? That's one of the flaws about him. He's not a defensive fighter, And I wasn't necessarily expecting him to be a defensive fighter. He doesn't need to be a defensive fighter. He didn't need to be one in order to win this fight. He could have won this fight just doing what he did in the first and second round. Sticking that jab up and down, throwing that right hand to the body. Instead, he completely got away from the game plan, Asante. Like, he was throwing that right hand to the body. That was confusing the fuck out of Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury didn't know what the hell was going on. Tyson Fury was backing up because he was confused. But after about the fourth round, after Wilder had that success knocking Fury down, all those right hands started going to the head, and he had no problem timing them. He knew exactly when they were coming and then where they were coming from or where they were going. You know what I mean? There was no more guesswork. Wilder took all the guesswork out of his punch selection and reverted back to throwing ones and twos. And all Tyson Fury had to do was move his head when he knew that right hand was coming. That's all he had to do. And it's stupid. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I shouldn't say it's stupid. You know what I'm saying? I shouldn't say that. But I think Wilder definitely had a legitimate chance of winning this fight, man. He could have won the fight, bro. He could have won. He could have won. Of course, that's easier said than done, but he could have won. He had all the tools to be able to win. I was listening to a video from Deontay's Boxing Nation a little earlier on before I went live, and he was talking about how Wilder looked kind of punch drunk a little bit. And it's possible he may be a little punch drunk from the last fight, man, because he was fumbling around and stumbling around after he would throw certain punches. Now, Wilder has never been really graceful on his feet, but, I mean, his balance was off. He just, maybe what it is with Wilder is he's just not used to reaching with his punches because he's not used to fighting people that are taller than him. That really is different. When you fight people that are taller than you, you're forced to reach and throw punches up, and if you're not used to that, it could really throw you off. So maybe that's what's going on. You know what I mean? For real, for real. Sante says true, bro. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I think Wilder legitimately had a good shot, man, of winning the fight, man. He could have won the fight, man. If he would have just continued to do what he was doing in the first and second round, he could have won the fight. He would have got the stoppage that he was looking for, too. Because Tyson Fury was confused and didn't know what was going on. He didn't know what was coming. He didn't know what to do. In those first few rounds, Tyson Fury couldn't even throw punches. He couldn't throw punches. He didn't know what punch to throw. He didn't know what to do. I mean, I believe Wilder and Malik Scott came up with a very brilliant game plan. And the game plan just simply wasn't executed. It just wasn't executed. Point blank, period. But at the same time, you know, Wilder still performed very well. He still performed very well, getting all the way to 11 rounds, taking all the punishment that he took along the way. Taking all the punishment that he took along the way. Reverting back to doing what he does. Still hurting Fury at times. Backing him up. You know. But again, we got to look at Fury, man. How the fuck is a 280-pound dude who started training 3 weeks ago, going into 11 rounds, getting up after knockdowns, barely breathing hard? Sante Sar says Wilder should have come in lighter and worked on building his punch count up to at least 800 to 1,000 punches. I mean, I'm not saying dude got to be Paul Williams or anything like that, Asante. You know what I mean? He ain't got to be the Paul the Punisher Williams. He ain't got to do all that. But you need to be more active. You got to be first. You can't stand there in the pocket with Fury, okay, and let him lead. You can't do that. When Wilder in the first and second round, when Wilder was first, when he was throwing those jabs first, and he was backing Fury up, he was very effective with that. He was very effective with that strategy. He don't need to throw 1,000 punches, but throw more punches than Fury. Be first, dictate the pace. So that way you can take breaks when you want to take breaks. But he allowed Fury to be first. He allowed Fury to be first. And you can't do that. You can't do that with a guy who's a better boxer than you. You can't allow the guy that's the better boxer to be first throwing punches. It's just not going to work. Or even if they're not even a better boxer, if y'all have equal skill level, you can't allow that guy to be first, because whoever controls the pace is going to win the fight. Whoever controls when the exchanges take place is going to win the fight. Whoever's going forward and forcing the other guy to go back is going to win the fight. Another thing that I think, and I mentioned this earlier, but to expound on it some more, another thing that I think was very detrimental to Wilder was the conditioning. The conditioning was crazy. I mean, and again, I said I get why, because he was knocked down 2 times. Or sorry, he was knocked down in that third round. First of all, we can't be too hard on the conditioning, because first of all, if his conditioning was horrible, there's no way that he would have been able to do the things that he did tonight if his conditioning was horrible. There's just no way. So whoever's going to be critical on his conditioning, I think you're gonna have to bring that back, because a guy who's not conditioned is not gonna get up after a knockdown like that he suffered in that third round. So he got up off the canvas, and I think that Wilder was very well conditioned as a result of that. But Tyson Fury, for whatever reason, just seemed to be in better condition. He seemed to be better equipped. He seemed to be able to pace himself and able to handle what was going on better. And he had a better poker face. So I don't know. I think that this is just, I think that, again, everybody won tonight. Everybody won tonight. If you're Deontay Wilder, I think that this is a rough loss. This is a real bitter pill to swallow at this point. Yeah, you can hold your head high. Yeah, you gave a performance. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you did your thing in the ring, you know. But after everything that went into this, you know, after everything that went into this fight, making it happen, after all the words that were exchanged, after all the insults and accusations and everything like that, I think if you're Wilder and you lose this one, it's like, it's real tough, man. It's real tough, man. You know, where to go from here, you know. Still a lot of big fights out there. Still a lot that Wilder can do. Still a lot Wilder could be thankful for. You know what I'm saying? But this is a tough one, man. This is a tough one. And if you're Tyson Fury, what do you do? Because I think Tyson Fury showed a lot of vulnerabilities tonight. A lot of vulnerabilities, man. Um, Tyson Fury also seems to be very one-dimensional to me as well. He's a guy that doesn't respond well to a good boxer. And we've seen a few good boxers tonight. We saw Jared Anderson tonight. We saw Frank Sanchez tonight. We saw some good, real good up-and-coming heavyweights stepping into the division, looking to make names for themselves on the same card. And we just watched Tyson Fury have some real issues with some boxing. What Deontay Wilder was doing in the first 2 rounds, that was boxing. That's what a Frank Sanchez would have did. That's what a Jared Anderson would have did. But they would have been able to keep it going, and they would have been faster and more fluid with it. You know? So I'm not going to go as far as to say Tyson Fury is, you know, he loses to everybody at this point. I'm not going to say all that. I think that's way overstepping things. But I think if you're Tyson Fury, man, there's definitely a lot to be worried about. He definitely got hurt and dropped 2 times. You definitely look vulnerable in a few rounds when boxing was taking place. Did really well at throwing 1-2s, but that's really all you did. Not to mention the rumors of him getting what they say dropped or stopped by Jared Anderson in sparring. So, but all in all, man, Tyson Fury's the guy, man. He's the guy at heavyweight. He's the guy at heavyweight. You got to give him props. Although I don't like that. I don't feel good about the fact that this almost 300-pound guy was able to go 11 rounds, with a high punch output for the most part. Although I don't like that. It is what it is, unless he gets popped, unless he pops dirty for some PED. I mean, it's not a whole lot that can be said about that. I just say that it's highly suspicious to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, for a dude to be able to perform like that at almost 300 pounds seems very unnatural. Asante says, unless someone's willing to get dirty with Fury, I can't see them being able to stop him. Well, I don't know, that dude got to get dirty with him in order to be able to stop him. I think Tyson Fury is a tough fight for anybody. I'm not saying anybody just dogs him. You know what I mean? I'm not saying anybody just kicks his ass or anything like that. I think he gives everybody tough fights. But I think he definitely showed some chinks in the armor tonight. There were some things that Deontay Wilder did in there that I think that anybody who watched the fight can take away and be able to really do some damage to Tyson Fury. You know, um, again, we saw some good heavyweights tonight with some really good boxing skills. Frank Sanchez and Jared Anderson. You know, they on the up and coming. You know what I mean? But he showed some vulnerabilities. I don't know that somebody named, I don't know that Usyk would be the one to do that. Usyk does have good boxing skills as well, but you know, I think Fury shows some vulnerabilities. I don't think he just flat out beats everybody at heavyweight. He's the guy right now. He's the guy. But I don't think he flat out beats everybody else. I don't see that being the case. I think he has trouble with certain people. But we'll see, man. I hope that, one thing I hope for Tyson Fury though, is now that he's won this fight, I hope he does boxing fans justice and stays active and fights everybody in the division. I don't want to see Tyson Fury retire after this fight, man. I think that would be like tragic if that happened. I don't want to see Tyson Fury I want to see him fight Usyk. And then after he fights Usyk, if he's able to somehow unify with Usyk or AJ, should AJ pull out the victory in that rematch, then I want to see him fight the next guy in line. Then I want to see him fight the next guy in line. You know what I mean? Asante said he's not going to fight that long. Why not? I mean, dude is like, what, 31? He's not that old. Dude is not that old to be thinking about retirement. I mean, yeah, I get that. Boxing is definitely not a sport that you want to stay in for a long, long time. But I mean, if you really want to be considered a truly great heavyweight champion, I think that it's something you definitely have to consider. Jumping in the ring and getting in there, against a lot of the top heavyweights and kind of cleaning house and reigning like somebody like Vladimir Klitschko. But it look like we got somebody in the building today. Go on here, come through. What's going on, man? I got Kangaroo Jack in the building. What's going on with you, Kangaroo Jack? Thanks for joining your boy on the show. What's going on with you?
How are we, buddy? Good?
I'm good, my man. How about yourself?
Yeah, just down in Australia. Just got home from the local pub. Watched the
Okay.
fight. Um, what a fight. What a fucking fight. Uh, First of all, I'd like to start off with by saying Deontay Wilder, he is a warrior for sure. Like, he would not go down. He wouldn't fold. And I think that shows a lot about his luck, his willingness to never give up, and he'll definitely go down as one of the best heavyweights to come out of America, in my opinion. Tyson Fury, wow. I mean, you just look at the scale of the heavyweights, King. You look at the scale of all the heavyweights around the world, the top ones. They're all slipping up. They're all, losing the odd fight every now and again. But for some reason, Tyson Fury just seems to win, and I don't know what it is, but um, he's definitely proved that he's the best heavyweight in the world today, and I look forward to seeing what's next for Wilder. What do you think?
Well, I think there's still a lot of good fights for Wilder out there. I mean, he has Dillian White. He has what's the other guy's name? I always forget his name. Um, he is not Usman. Who am I thinking about? It's some good fights out there for Wilder. I can't think of anyone right now. It's 3:30 in the morning here where I am, so so forgive me if I'm a little scatterbrained at the moment, but it's some good fights in there in heavyweight. I mean, even AJ, at this point,
Ruiz.
there's a lot of guys he could fight, and I think they would make for really good fights. And I hope that Wilder continues to keep going, and maybe soon in the future go back after a heavyweight
Yeah.
championship belt.
In my opinion, Deontay Wilder knocks every other heavyweight out. In my opinion, if he fights like he did tonight. Um, the problem, I predicted the way the fight would go tonight. I thought it would go the way it did. I was just a bit nervous early in the fight for Tyson Fury because I knew Wilder was very dangerous early in fights.
Mhm.
But I knew once Fury started to be able to physically impose himself on Wilder, you would wear him out late in the fight, and that's what happened. And I think I feel like people need to start showing a bit more respect for Tyson Fury.
Mhm.
I really do, because going through all these YouTube channels, everybody seems to be all these different conspiracies, etc., etc. But also, as I've said over the last 3 years on different channels, on different lives, um, nobody in the world will beat Tyson Fury. I will guarantee you that after tonight. I 100% guarantee that. He will retire undefeated heavyweight champion.
Mhm.
It's a big statement, but who can beat him? Who's going to beat him?
Mm. I can't think of anyone right now that can beat him. So, I think you're definitely right there. I think there's some good heavyweights coming up that will give us some problems. Um, but right now I don't see anyone beating him. But what do you think about this, Kangaroo Jack? Like Tyson Fury came in what, 280 pounds,
Yeah,
but
that's ridiculous.
somehow this guy is able to go 11 rounds and not gas out and kind of maintain a pretty stable punch output. Like that's insane.
This is the thing with Fury. He's 6'9" and he's coming at 280 or whatever pounds. But this is not new for Fury. His weight fluctuates. It goes up and down, but he's always boxing fit. Do you know what I mean? People have got this conception in their head. You have to look like a fucking bodybuilder to be a boxer, or some sort of ripped with abs and that. You know, it's not about that. Fury is. Look at him. He had love handles on his
Yeah,
on his back. But he will beat any. He will outbox you for 12 rounds if he wanted to. I mean, look at the styles look at the styles. Right, we'll get into a technical here.
Mhm.
So that first fight they fought, Wilder knocked him down twice, but Fury wasn't coming for Wilder. He wanted to box Wilder, which I believe he did the first fight. He did enough to win. He won clearly on the cards for me, but the two knockdowns got the draw, which I thought was fair, because knockdowns, in my opinion, you're controlling the fight. But, Tyson Fury can box off the jab if he wants to. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
He can keep you at arm's length if he wants to. He can drop weight to be faster, to be able to move around the ring, which that's what I reckon will happen when he fights Usyk, because that fight will definitely happen. I think that they're willing to fight each other. Yeah, I mean, he was so big. He's like overweight almost.
That's crazy.
And
Yeah.
he just like Wilder gassed out. I thought Wilder was too much focusing on in that first 2-3 rounds, because I gave him the first two. I thought he gassed out too quickly. He was just really trying to show everybody that he was trying new things, like punch, like to the body, to the body, to the body, which was brilliant. But I think he needs to change his trainer again. I don't think Malik Scott is any good for him. I believe he needs to get a heavyweight in, or even a potential Floyd Mayweather to come in and sharpen up his technical abilities. Because everything else is there. Wilder has a lovely jab. Let's not dispute that. He has a really nice jab. It's a snappy jab. If
Mhm.
he hits you with that jab, it opens up the right. But if he can work on his foot, if he can have a bit of better footwork, bit better foot placement, these body shots that he was throwing, they looked so like they didn't even look like body shots, did they?
No, no, not at all.
There was no
No.
power in him. I knew that would happen because Wilder has never thrown body shots in his life in close. He's never been an inside fighter. He's never been in a brawl on the inside. He's no good at that, and that's what Fury brought. And you don't. I think it's no question now. I don't know you'd agree, but there's no question that Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight on the planet.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that at this, I'm not. I mean, he definitely needs to fight Usyk if Usyk should get through AJ. He should definitely fight him and then settle that dispute once and for all. But I think he beats Usyk if they do fight. Fury will go into that fight with the right game plan, unlike AJ, and use his size and his strength to his advantage and not try to stand in the middle of the ring and exchange jabs with him like AJ did. So,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Like I said earlier, though, I do think there are some heavyweights coming up that'll give him some trouble. But as of right now, he's the guy in the division, you know. But one thing I will say though, is based on this fight, and I'll ask you this: this fight was completely different than the second fight. What do you attribute to that exactly? Like, what are your thoughts about this fight being like night and day from the second fight?
Deontay Wilder threw his right hand.
He threw his right hand more. So you think
Yeah,
it's
so he's more effective. It was more. He threw more punches. I mean, something wasn't right in that second fight, and I still hold that opinion now. And I'm a Fury fan, but he was throwing his right hand. His jab and his willingness to wait, like to throw the jab and throw the body shots. His willingness to slow down, and snap that right hand. And let's not forget, he dropped Tyson Fury twice, and Tyson Fury is the only heavyweight in the world that's getting up from Wilder's punches. So
crazy?
that is just, he's knocked out 39 on 40 of his opponents.
It's
He's dropped
crazy.
Fury one, two, four times ever, and Fury got up every time. So, credit to Fury with that. But the difference between the fights was Wilder was ready for the brawl. He gave it everything he had. He was
Yeah,
getting punched when the doctor came in and said, "Are you all right? Do you want to keep going?" He's like, "No, I want to keep going." And then he ends up hurting Fury again, and making him stumble a bit. He just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming, and that is a champion. And for
yeah,
all these people that in these different chats saying Wilder should retire, he's finished, you should be ashamed of yourself if you're saying that. There's
yeah,
no shame in losing to the best heavyweight since Vladimir Klitschko.
yeah.
There's no shame in that. There is no, he. So
Especially in a fight like that. That was a hell of a fight. That fight anyone could have got knocked out in that fight.
oh
Granted,
yeah,
Wilder was more likely to get knocked out, just given everything that was going on. But anyone could have got knocked out in that fight. Anyone. They were throwing knockout blows. Every other blow was a knockout blow. So
yeah, yeah, and none of that as well. And I still hold this opinion. Fury doesn't have the power to spark Wilder out with one punch. It was a ultimatum of punches over a period of 3-4 rounds.
mhm,
Which got him tired. He started to do the leaning as well, which didn't help, and it's a thing that Fury likes to do. He's very good at it, very effective at it.
mhm.
But Wilder, he could knock you out in 1 second.
Yeah.
That
One
snap
punch.
right, one punch, he could clean you. If it's clear, it's clean anyways. Um, But you look over Fury's fights over the years, he's never been a brawler. He never brawls with people, but he can. He can brawl if he wants to. If it's not going his way, this is why he's technically the best heavyweight in the world, because he's got so many tools in his in his glove box. He's got so many different spanners, so many different drills to change up the fight, which AJ isn't able to do. Correct?
Correct.
And he's awkward, and just remember that AJ isn't as tall as Deontay Wilder. He's a little bit tiny bit shorter, and he's more like he's like a stiff version of like Derek Chisora, in my opinion. That's just me personally, because if AJ fought Wilder, I would put anything on that Wilder would knock his head into next week. He would smash him for sure.
Oh, you say you say Wilder would smash AJ? You say AJ would smash Wilder?
AJ Wilder would knock AJ into the next planet, in my
Oh,
opinion.
yeah. I think there's a lot of people will be upset hearing you say that. That's what I think.
Well, but if they know boxing, they know that Anthony Joshua is a stiff. He's very stiff. He's like he's like a robot. He's tucked in, throws a 1-2 hook. He doesn't. And so that's just my opinion on it. I don't rate Usyk very high. I think he's a good cruiserweight and he's got good elite boxing skills. But do I think he can beat? Do I think he can beat Tyson Fury? See, that's a really good fight, and that's a really good fight.
Yeah.
I just come to the conclusion with that one, as I did with the Wilder. I just think Tyson Fury's too big, and he won't let Usyk run around like AJ did.
Yeah, I think so.
And he won't. He might not catch him with actually. Well, he might catch him with one punch because remember Usyk hasn't had a barrage of heavyweight punches. He keeps running around the ring, and Fury will like, okay, run around the ring, do what you want to do, run around. But Fury can hold him off on the jab as well. Remember that. Fury could outbox Usyk. We keep forgetting this.
Yes, he could. Yes, he definitely could outbox Usyk. But I would strongly recommend he doesn't do anything of the sort. I would strongly recommend he doesn't do anything like that. We got somebody new joining us. Hold on. Let me go ahead and add him to the stream. Hey, what's going on, man? Deontay, huge respect. What's going on?
So what was your thoughts on the fight? What was your thoughts on that fight?
My thoughts on the fight was I thought it was a damn good fight.
Thanks for having me on, bro. I'm a bit pissed, bro.
No worries, man. Thanks for coming on, man. I opened up the line so anybody can jump on here. But my thoughts are pretty much that it was an amazing fight. It went back and forth. Anyone could have gotten knocked out in that fight. And Fury ended up outlasting Wilder.
Did you think Wilder came in better because he was doing the 350 on the bench and that? I've been drinking for 25 hours straight, like in the casino and everything. But sorry, bro. I'm really sorry to be annoying you, but I thought Wilder was on point, so on point. I didn't expect him to be that leveled. He was good. Do you agree?
Yeah, no, Wilder was good. I think his game plan going into the fight was amazing. He was throwing jabs to the body, up top to the head. He was throwing straight right hand to the body. He was backing Fury up, and he was first in those first 2 rounds, and he wasn't allowing Fury to put him on his back foot. But the second he got away from that game plan and he allowed Fury to settle into the pocket, and he started backing up into the ropes, that's when I knew he was getting into trouble. Because Fury started lining up those 1-2s, and and he ended up getting into issues and getting caught multiple times, and it just went.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Go ahead.
Do you? And this is to Kangaroo Jack and King David. Like, I know I've been out for 3 days. Do you actually think that was the best fight that you've watched in the last 30 years? Because I can't think of a better fight in the last 30 years that was good, wasn't it? It was good.
Definitely the best heavyweight fight I've ever seen for my age.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, to have sorry about that, King. To have, this is just my opinion on it, a trilogy fight, which hasn't happened for what, 30 years or something, was it? In a heavyweight, who was it that had a trilogy?
It was Holyfield. Holyfield was the last fight.
Yeah, that's what I remember, the last trilogy. But I think to have to have 2 of the best heavyweights in the world, which I class these 2 as a number 1 and number 2 in the world, even after Wilder losing the fight, I still have Wilder at number 2, and I don't give a shit what anybody says.
I think that's a great show.
To have them go down, Wilder go down twice, no, 3 times. How many times did he go down, Wilder? 3 times.
I think actually it was about 4 times altogether.
Yeah, 4. Yeah, sorry, it was 4. 4 times, and Fury went down twice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is just like a movie sort of shit. Like, they both went down and got up and kept coming. And this is where I credit Wilder. Like I'm going onto these different chats, King, and everybody, a lot of Americans, they're all saying Wilder should retire.
Wow.
And a couple of British guys are saying Wilder's finished. He's busted. He won't be able to beat anyone else. And I think it's completely disrespectful. Have a look at his resume. Yeah. Have a look at his resume, and you're telling me that he should retire. The 6 fights before he fought Fury are all credible opponents.
Yeah. Can I interject? I know I'm a bit annoying, but I think Wilder's whole take as a human being was amazing after that fight, and people like you just say Kangaroo Jack, that people are saying like he should be stepping up to this, that, and the other. I'm just gonna be drunk for the next 3 days because I'm pissed, bro, and I'm not gonna be sober for 3 or 4 days. If I'm honest, and I'm not lying or trying to give it the big internet big man, that was fucking amazing, bro. That was fucking amazing. You've just watched history in a fight. That was the most bizarrest thing I've ever seen. You had a guy that came out, which was Fury, thought he could fucking box him and punch him out. He didn't do much training. Let me just put this drink down. You had that guy, Fury, he come out and he tried to he's stronger than Wilder, so he's got a lot more strength. But I can understand Wilder's mentality, because when I was in my 30s, 20s, I'm in my mid-50s, I'm nearly 60s now. When I was Wilder's age, I used to bench 350, 390, banging all that shit out, and I couldn't even bench 10 pounds now, but I just had so much respect for the fact that Wilder came out and actually made the effort. You do understand this, right? Wilder spent 20 months to make the effort to bench press more, train more, box more. I think even all the excuses aside about him being and he's an arsehole, Wilder, and his fans are complete scum.
Sore loser.
We all know this. We all know this, but I watch boxing, and we all know that there are biggest pieces of shit in boxing, and his excuses were the biggest piece of shit in boxing. But you have to give him a lot of credit. He really came out to win that fight, man. And I don't care what anyone says. I have got huge respect for Deontay for that. And
I'll be watching his next fight.
I will. Yeah. So I don't think people should be that nasty about him, because I don't know, man. He's an arsehole. His fans are arseholes, but wow.
Oh, definitely. His fans are fucking phonies. Like, I was in town today, and because I'm in Adelaide, South Australia, and the pub was packed. Let's not forget, this fight was all over the world. Eddie Hearn likes to downgrade it, but everybody's watching it. The pub had I reckon a pub area had about 120 in there watching it, and most of them was Furies, but there was a corner full of Wilder, maybe 20 of them full of Wilder fans, and what were they complaining about? Some sort of slow count or something, like the guy that just said best as him. A couple of people were saying something about a slow count. See, this is the problem. You got people that come out and say shit like that. So where was he best as him? Where was Wilder winning the fight after the 6th round? Tell me where he was winning it. Tell me, someone tell me after the 6th, 7th round.
It was getting blasted, but it's going to be hard for me as an individual to hate on him, bro. I've never liked him. I'm the most hated person on the LDBC in terms of boxing. Everyone knows, but I've got I have got listen, sometimes in life you have to bow your head and you have to say, okay, you talk shit about the gloves. You cannot manipulate a horsehair Everlast glove from the inside
It's impossible.
about 2 minutes. It's completely impossible. We all know that it's impossible. I used to box with Joe Egan, used to box with Mike Tyson. I did that for fucking 14 years, got my head fucking blasted in. I can hardly fucking speak straight. You're lucky I'm even on here. I'm fucking. I'm a bit. I'm not retarded, but I'm not the cleverest. If you've been punched in the head by fucking guys that are listen, I've got no love for Deontay Wilder's take on the glove gate, but I will give him one thing. That was a good fight. Would you agree that was the best fight you've watched in the last 30 years?
Well, I'm not 30, but I mean, for me, it was.
That was a good
I'm 21.
fight.
I mean, the best fight I've seen from my years would probably be one of the Mayweather fights, I reckon.
How old are you then, young man? How old are you?
21.
Well, I'm
21
56. So.
And I think, like, I said this, I reckon, when I was 15 or 14. And when did I realize that Tyson Fury was going to be, like, this guy is going to be really good?
So you've seen the whole Fury. You've seen the whole Fury advance.
I remember when he fought.
Wow.
I remember when he had a fight with the second fight with Derek Chisora. I remember the lead up towards David Haye didn't happen. I remember he fought Steve Cunningham, and that's when I said this guy will be heavyweight champion of the world. I said because the way he fought Steve Cunningham is the way he's been fighting the last, I'd say 5-6 years. His ability to adapt to the situation. You know, he can. If you're outboxing me, I'm not going to do that. I'm 6'5". I'm going to lean all over you for the rest of the fight. I'm going to turn it into a brawl because if you're outboxing me, what the fuck can I do? Nothing. You know, and this is where AJ failed. He didn't act like a big man. He fucking failed miserably. That's why he's a piece of shit. I actually don't like AJ at all. And him and Eddie Hearn can go fuck off in a pond together.
I try to keep neutral on the boxing. So the AJ fight, I won a lot of money on the.
To keep neutral.
Yeah, I won a lot of money on the Usyk unanimous decision. I won 1,300 quid on that from AJ losing. Yeah, big time.
I knew Usyk would win. I knew it for a fact. I knew it in my head. I was like, he's a better boxer. And I know AJ's going to be a retard and come in and try and outbox him because that's what AJ likes to do. He likes to fuck with the public.
The thing with AJ, he's a bit robotic. So he's a paper champion. If you were going to mention it to me,
oh, definitely. Eddie Hearn's quaking in his boots now. He's like, "Oh, who do I have next to save me?" Because once he gets beaten, honestly, he hasn't got anyone else. Maybe he's got Dillian White. Dillian White's his playboy. So as soon as he's failed with AJ, he'll jump with Dillian White, and Dillian White will have a crack. And Dillian White's no pushover, but I wouldn't be surprised if Otto Wallin.
I used to work next to him, Hearn, in an office in Hoxton in 2004. Listen, that guy, in terms of what he's doing in his boxing career, I couldn't give a shit, to be fair. Couldn't give a flying fuck, man, to be honest. I'm just enjoying the fact that was the best fight I have actually watched in heavyweight boxing in the last 30 years. And I couldn't give a fuck about Eddie Hearn. Do you want to see what I think about Eddie Hearn? There you go. I couldn't give a shit about Eddie Hearn. I couldn't give a shit about British boxing. What was the fight that went on? Was it Liam Williams against some fucking idiot? What was it? Liam Moron?
I knew that. What
some
happened?
little some tosser. Someone got knocked out, but I wasn't
Some
interested
moron
in
against some other moron.
it. A shit house against another shit house.
I couldn't be asked to be fair. I just wanted to watch the Wilder Fury fight, and brilliant, bro, brilliant.
Hey guys,
This
we got 31 people in here. Let's get the likes up, man.
Hit
And
the
you
like
guys
up,
make
bro.
sure you subscribe to the channel, bro.
You're lucky that I'm even here. You're lucky that
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
The bloke from the UK. So when I was 15, and nice, when Fury beat Klitschko off when he retired, I was like so sad. I was like,
I was about
seeing him get up
60
to-
years old then. I was about 60 years.
yeah, I was hell sad because like, you know, like because I never thought he would come back, and then he comes
You
back,
like
and then
Klitschko then? You didn't like Klitschko, did you?
oh no, no. This is the thing. I'm trying to give you the example what I think is going to happen because I predict that he'll go undefeated. No one will beat him. No one will beat Tyson Fury. He will retire the heavyweight champion of the world.
You've always
100%.
liked him. You've always liked him then.
Yep, and everyone says to me, "Oh, he'll get knocked out eventually." I said, "Hey," I
don't like him.
said to him, I said, if you want to beat Tyson Fury, you have to knock the motherfucker out. You have to knock him out. Because you're not going to beat him.
I don't like him. I can't stand him. I've actually met him. I did a bit of gardening with him.
Fucking, it sounds like you've met everybody. Have you met the Queen or what's going on?
I've never met the Queen, but I've met Fury. But yeah, I moved to. He lives in Morecambe. I moved to Morecambe 2 years ago. He lives there. That guy, and my mum pays for
that guy that you're talking about is, buddy. That guy that you're talking about is now the heavyweight champion of the world, the undefeated heavyweight champion, reigning, defending heavyweight champion. Because I can now say he's defended the title because I never used to be able to say it, so now I can.
No, he is. He's by far the best fighter in the world. You're not going to get anyone that's better than him. Lennox Lewis has been saying it for years. Lennox Lewis has said that Fury was the best boxer. We all know it, that he's the best boxer.
What's that, King?
I just want to see Fury reign, like we were talking about earlier. Like, you know, I want to see this guy get some title defenses under his belt and unify with Usyk or AJ or whoever there is next. You know, I need to see that from him. If he just turns around and retires, I think that
he will.
He'd be doing the sport a disservice if he did something like that.
No. Listen, he's had a great career. He suffered with the mental health for a long time.
I'm going to kill myself if I keep hearing about that mental health shit.
Well, I'm sorry about that.
Sorry. I think I'm getting depression hearing about it. Like, no, but you know, you're definitely right. You know, Tyson Fury's won every single belt that you can win in boxing. He's beaten arguably the last dominant heavyweight, which was Vladimir Klitschko. Beat him, the only one that beat him for a long time before AJ beat him in his own backyard. Hasn't fought in England in a while.
I don't even like Fury, but I actually hate Fury.
Whoa.
I don't even like him, but he is the man.
Don't tell me you've had a fight with his dad, John, because I mean, apparently he wants to fight everybody, so I don't know what's going on.
Gonna fight me, but listen, I just think Fury's an amazing boxer, as you know. He's a good boxer.
I'm taking a Mickey Jericho. Calm down. Keep your knickers in the knot. No, but honestly, Fury coming back from out of the ring for a few years after Klitschko, came back, fought Wilder in his own backyard after fighting 2 tomato cans, you know, arguably outboxed him in that first fight, would draw, to come back in the second fight, completely wipe Wilder off the face of the earth, come out in the third fight and then just completely smash him after the 5th round.
Yeah,
Like he's done. If you said if he walks away from boxing now, I'd be disappointed. But there's no other undefeated heavyweight. AJ can't seem to fucking beat any of these nobodies that come up and beat him. He seems to slip up so many times. I don't know why he slips up, but he seems to be slipping a lot.
He's not good. He ain't got the ability to. He's not
George
the ability
Bush.
of a Fury.
Let's go a 4th time. Well, let me just get something straight. Fury won the fight, but he didn't even have a proper training camp. His daughter was in hospital fighting for her life.
Yeah.
Literally,
she was ill. She was
really ill. So he didn't have a proper training camp. What do you think of that, King? He actually didn't have a proper training camp. Like he wasn't in America for as long as 2 weeks or something.
He wasn't. Listen, Fury's daughter got born eight weeks ago. I think her name's I don't know what it.
Name.
I don't know what it is, but she was very ill, and we had this in where I live is about 40 miles from where Fury lives. Listen, his daughter's nice. He's a lovely man, and he's a nice guy. So, I've been drinking for 60 hours straight, and if we're going to talk about Tyson Fury,
Alex,
he is the best boxer on the whole planet. You're not going to get anything close. Look at his last 6 results; they're all linked. So.
Well, the thing is, you're wasted, by the way. You're mumbling from different things and all that.
Oh, don't be nasty. Don't be nasty.
Yeah, so, as the chat's saying, a lot of people are saying different things, but you really, if someone could tell me in the chat what sort of fight do we want to see next, because I wouldn't mind seeing Fury and Dillian Whyte myself. Give Dillian Whyte a title shot. He hasn't had one. He's never had one. He should have had one already.
Everybody blasted
everybody.
Well, the WBC sidelined him for like over 1,000 days. So yeah, let's get Dillian Whyte on the scene, but it all depends.
Let's just say Dillian Whyte's pretty much the one that's getting fucked with no lube at the moment. He's getting fucked. Like, I mean, and look, I personally think Tyson Fury would eat him alive. Wouldn't knock him out, but he would outbox him. He'd completely outbox Dillian Whyte for sure.
No, 100%. I rate Dillian Whyte. I just think that he does deserve a shot, but we will have to see.
And knowing Fury, don't be surprised with Fury. Sorry, King. Don't be surprised, and this is just a prediction. Don't be surprised if Tyson Fury vacates the WBC belt and fights some nobody in Spain or something. Like, he just doesn't care. He just does these sorts of things. Like, he gets up for the big fights and he'll fight 2 guys that just come out off the couch. So
I don't think he wants. Nobody really wants Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte's a bit of a nobody, to be fair.
Whoa!
Wow.
That is a big call because he has a good resume. He's probably got a better resume than Tyson Fury, if I'm being honest with you.
No. His best knockout was Lucas Brown. That's garbage.
Former heavyweight champion or some sort of... I can't believe Lucas Brown is fighting the Savage Babbage. I mean, how does Lucas Brown get another chance after losing to an NRL player, a rugby player? I'm shocked that he still gets a gig under Eddie Hearn. Like,
he's
honestly.
obviously been sleeping with the Miami Dolphins. Well, I don't really rate that, to be fair.
A couple of people just said in the chat, they go, like I said that AJ's fighting nobodies. When I said nobodies, I'm talking Usyk, in my opinion, isn't a heavyweight. Like, he's not a heavyweight. And I'll still hold that now. He's got all the belts, but he just fought a guy that's too scared to throw anything. Like, he's just, since Andy Ruiz.
Yeah, we could agree with that. I think you're right with that. You don't want to slip up on that. So if that's what you think, you're right.
No, that's dead set what I'm thinking, because after that first fight, once AJ gets into a scrap, he just seems to get hit and go down and his fight's over. And then ever
So
since then, now he's starting to box everybody.
think we watched the Ajagba fight against Sanchez? Yeah, you watched the Ajagba fight against Sanchez.
Yeah,
Kownacki
Sanchez is really good, very experienced.
So what you've got to ask yourself: there's not anything coming from anywhere else.
Yeah, but they'll all get eaten up by the heavyweight. You put Derek Chisora in there with Frank Sanchez, and Derek Chisora would punch a hole through his head.
Yeah,
so,
I agree. I totally agree with that.
So that
I don't know about that. Frank Sanchez showed he showed some real skills in there with the Jogba. Now, granted, the Jogba doesn't really have a whole lot of skills, so it was really that impressive in order to be able to outbox him the way he did. But I really like what Sanchez was able to do.
Well, let's be honest, though, Jogba didn't fucking throw anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm watching the fight. I was thinking to myself, you go into the 11th and 12th round, why are you still jumping back and throwing the fucking jab? Get on him.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing anything.
There was no sense of urgency at all. Like, honestly, but the thing is Sanchez kept making him reset. Every time he would use that lateral movement, Ajagba would have to reset. He clearly he can't throw punches moving in a straight line or even moving it laterally. So it just was bad for him all the way around. He's used to people being right in front of him.
Got a question for you, King. A couple of people just said it in there. Obi said, so if Fury fights Usyk, right, and beats Usyk, and then vacates all the belt and retires and goes and does his celebrity UFC or WWF or whatever he does.
Right.
If he beats Usyk, I think he's well in his right to go off into the sunset, personally.
I'm not gonna say that because I want to see him reign. If you're gonna get the belts, go ahead and let's see you defend those belts at least 5 times. I don't
want a bit like Klitschko.
Yeah. Klitschko dominated for 10 years? I think he went.
10 years. He never got beaten. Years. But look at the heavyweights that were challenging him. No one.
That's true. That's true.
Literally nobody came to win against Klitschko. They were always in. Now the heavyweight scene at the moment, there's guys coming from every door. It's like there's heavyweights coming up, and I think it's brilliant.
They ain't no good though. They ain't no good. They're coming from no doors, bro.
Let me ask you guys, what did you guys think about Jared Anderson? Did you guys get to see him fight today?
I
saw the last bit. I don't personally.
Wasn't too bad. I watched the fight. It was all right.
It was all right.
It was okay.
It was okay. What do you think, Kangaroo?
Well, I watched a little bit of it. I thought, see, this is the problem. You can't really make much of some of these guys coming up, as you're just saying, because I know they're fighting each other. It's pretty much like shit versus shit. So it's like, so we just got to wait and see. We got to wait and see to see who steps up and who takes what. But you've still got a couple of these. All the top guys are trying to fight each other, and Wilder and Fury are the only two fighting each other. But everyone else is not interested in fighting each other. But I think it's Eddie Hearn protecting AJ. He's holding up the whole heavyweight division. I swear to God. Why do you think Fury's not scared to fight anybody? Now, we've already figured that out. He just went and beat Wilder 3 times in the US. He beat Klitschko in Germany. Fury, AJ's fighting at fucking Tottenham Stadium every couple of days. So I don't understand what's going on. I think Fury wants that AJ fight. He wanted that AJ fight. That's why he tried to hold off on the arbitration. But that's all gone anyways. AJ's a chinless piece of shit. I don't like him one little bit. I actually don't like him at all. I think he's like. I respect fighters, so he's just a cocky cunt.
I don't like him myself. No, be honest. Just be honest. Be honest.
What do you think, King?
Why do you guys not like AJ?
Because he's a protected species. I just think Eddie Hearn and him, they sit in the bathtub at night and play with each other. They're just ridiculous, and they're going to take this rematch with Usyk, which if I was in charge of AJ, I wouldn't take the match with Usyk myself. I'd just let Usyk and Fury fight each other, and maybe give Dillian White the rematch with Dillian White versus Anthony Joshua.
I think this guy, he's obviously half my age. think he's right.
Why would you take the rematch when the guys just absolutely boxed your head off? Like, I don't. What, you all of a sudden going to be something you're not and try and be physical with Usyk? Because Usyk can hit. He can hit. And we know when AJ gets hit by little guys, he goes down and he stays down. So so what's he going to do? Is he going to try and, he should probably change up his camp a
Yeah.
little bit, maybe
I think
get
he's
Tyson
right.
Fury in there.
Changed his camp and his game plan on both of them were terrible. Just like what you were saying earlier, he's sitting in the middle of the ring trying to exchange jabs with Usyk when you're about 3-4 inches taller and 40 pounds heavier. It didn't make sense to me what he was doing at all.
But where's the train? Who's the fucking, like, who's sitting in the corner with him? Who's his coach telling him to fucking, like, change it up? Because as a trainer, aren't you supposed to, like, change it up during fights? Like, you meant to, if one thing's not working, because he was clearly getting dominated on the cards. This is not some sort of conspiracy, like some sort of lie. He was getting absolutely chucked alive.
Yeah.
And I did not see one time of AJ cut off the ring
At
and
all.
get hold of him. Just get hold of the prick. Just get him.
And
That's all you needed to do. But he
and
didn't grab him at all.
And just like a Jogba, there was no sense of urgency. So even when he knew he was losing the fight later on, he didn't do anything. It was 1 or 2 punches at a time. It was circle. It was follow Usyk around the ring. It was painful to watch for anybody who you're way bigger than, way stronger than. It was ridiculous. Maybe you should take a page out of Fury's book and go see Sugar Hill in Detroit.
Yeah, well, I think, like, the thing with AJ is he puts on this nice boy character. Ask what Dillian White thinks of him. Dillian White thinks he puts on this good boy act and all that, but back in his early teenage years, he was just like tough guy in the street. So I don't know why he's some sort of hero now to everybody. But you'd even still make, like, maybe if it, like, I don't even know how I'd do it, but I personally think AJ should step aside like a little bitch, step aside and let Usyk and Fury fight and just fight Dillian White. Or maybe even fight maybe even fight the likes of fucking Derek Chisora or Joe Joyce or something like that. Just fight someone else, stay out of the way, let's get an undisputed. I want an undisputed champion. We haven't seen it in my lifetime. I want to see it. And I think Usyk and Fury are willing to fight each other in the United Kingdom, in a stadium. That would be a huge fight.
Yeah, that would be a huge fight. I look forward to it. I hope that it happens soon.
It has to happen. I just we literally just missed out. Like, I was hoping, you know what, if Fury lost tonight, that would make the heavyweight division even more exciting because you wouldn't know who's going where, what's going to happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just don't think Fury is ever going to lose. Nobody has his number. He's got everyone's number, I reckon, except for maybe except for maybe Usyk. I still think Usyk could cause him trouble, but I don't know. The size difference could be a problem.
Mm.
Who do you think? Who do you think Dillian White? Where do you think this is going to go? The whole concept. How do you think it's all going to play out?
Well, I think Wilder. If Wilder's thinking clearly, I think that he should recover and go after Dillian White next. I think that's his next best option. Dillian White or Derek Chisora. I think he should stay away from Joe Joyce. That's another potential scary opponent up there at heavyweight. But I think he should go after one of those guys. And I think it'd make for a good fight. And if he could beat Dillian White, then he would kind of set himself up to be the mandatory again for the WBC belt and possibly.
Well, that's exactly right. Get a fourth fight.
Yeah.
Because see, this is the thing. Today wasn't a complete domination. Let's not get that mistaken. Like, anybody, if Wilder took his opportunities, he could have beaten Fury, by a stoppage or whatever. But I just don't. He's never had that technical ability to put it on somebody with uppercuts, hooks to the body, hooks to the head. He's always just that swinger. That's the problem. If I was Wilder, I'd be getting Floyd Mayweather in the training. I'd get Floyd Mayweather in.
I gotta say though, I did see Wilder do some really, really nice things on the inside, and before I don't think Wilder even had the capacity even shorten up his punches to even fight on the inside at all. With
Mm.
today, I saw him kind of when they were in between in clinches, he would throw little punches going out and little punches going in, and I was kind of impressed by that. And I was saying in my pre-thoughts video about this fight that he would need to do something because Fury likes to fight on the inside, so he needs to have some sort of inside game. So he's definitely improved on a lot of little things and added some little wrinkles to his game, but that definitely needs to continue if he's to do anything,
Well, just Tyler Mitchell in chat just said, "Lol, Fury whooped this bum 3 times. How does a 4th match make any sense?" Well, this is what I would say to that. If Deontay Wilder does the right things and comes back and beats the fighters that I believe he will beat, because I back him to knock out everybody else except for Fury, and Usyk, because I think Usyk might beat Deontay Wilder, but I believe he beats everybody else. If he beats the people that he needs to beat, then I mean he can get. It's there to have another fight, have a 4th fight, a 5th fight, a 6th fight. If you do the hard yards and you get the job done in the fight you're supposed to, you get the opportunity again. It's about opportunity. It's not about whether you've beaten me fucking 3 times, but then I fall away and don't come back. You beat me 3 times and I go back and do the work to get back another shot. I do the work and get another shot.
Right. Absolutely. That's how that works. I personally
this is where these guys are saying he should just quit. That's a quitting comment, pretty much. Fury whooped this bum 3 times. How does a 4th match make any sense? So he's practically saying Wilder should pack up and go home, like pack it all in. It's no shame in losing to a better person, a better fighter. There's no shame in that. Wilder. Would you bet against Wilder against the likes of Derek Chisora or a Dillian White? Would you give him a chance? Because I fucking would.
And I'll tell you this, fans like that are the reasons why you have fighters that avoid other fighters, because they know that if they lose, they're going to have fans that are going to, come down on them that way. Like tell them to retire and, now they're not shit and all of a sudden they're not credible boxers. So, we got to think about that as fight fans. Like, just because somebody loses, it doesn't mean that they suck or trash or anything like that. It just means that somebody was better than them that night. But on any given night, somebody could come back and clinch a victory. A lot of things go into these fights, So
Usyk versus Wilder. And I don't like seeing comments like this. Like, I don't know whether these people actually like boxing, because don't they want to see the best fight the best, like the champ versus champ? Why are the little guys only doing it? Why are the little guys doing it and the heavyweights don't do it? I don't understand.
Yeah, Manny Pacquiao and Marquez fought 4 times and nobody complained about that.
Oh, that would be a good matchup. Usyk versus Fury, AJ versus Wilder, loser versus loser, winner versus winner.
Yeah, if Wilder can fight himself back into position and become the number 2 guy, if he can beat White and beat some of those other guys in there, then yeah, he deserves another Fury fight. I personally don't think that. I think if Wilder was in line again for that, I don't think that Fury would be there long enough to fight a 4th time, though.
I agree. Yeah,
but if he fights himself back into position, then that's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's how that goes. That's boxing.
I think Mayweather could really, really do some good work with Wilder, because we just seen Wilder come in and have a good game plan for 3 rounds. And then it went AWOL when Fury started to land a few good shots. Do you see what I'm saying? He actually was beating the boxer for the first 2 or 3 rounds, quite like nicely to the body. Didn't land any head shots to the head with the jab, but the body shots were brilliant. So if you get a Mayweather in there, he may tighten up his defense. May give him a few different looks into how he's going to take it into his future. Because Wilder could potentially become the undisputed champion if everyone fights each other and he just fights a couple of Americans, like fights a couple of these guys.
Yeah, I think Malik Scott is, I looked online too. I looked at a few videos online, and Malik Scott was getting a lot of criticism. But I think Malik Scott did a good job coming up with the game plan and doing things again. Like Wilder was doing really well in the first 2 rounds. He was backing Fury up. He was throwing jabs and straight right hands to the body. He was doing really well and got away from the game plan and ended up kind of getting gassed and just
Mm,
reverting back to throwing a 1-2. And as a result, we saw what happened. Fury, it was
mm,
very
mm.
predictable. The punches were very telegraphed, and Fury was able to capitalize on it. So, you know,
I yeah, I was saying to everybody at the pub and all that, I had bets going with a couple of Wilder fans. I made like $500 from individuals because they all said that Fury's overweight and he didn't train for a fight. And I had this theory that he didn't take his t-shirt off during the weigh-in or some sort of shit they were saying. um, I said to him, I said, $100, Ed. Everyone is $100. I'll give 500, 100 each. And I go, yep, done. $500 cash. I said, Fury will stop him late in the fight. I said, the first 3-4 rounds is the most dangerous for Fury because Wilder can snap that right hand and get you quick because he's full of energy. But as the fight goes on, Fury gets better. He gets better and he gets better because he's got this fat guy fitness. I don't know. He just doesn't tire and he just keeps going. But muscles don't make fighters. Sweet science make fighters, and I think we've seen that quite clearly today.
what do you
Usyk
what
versus
Wilder? You saw that, right? I was gonna ask you about that because that is potentially an option for Wilder. He could try to go the Usyk route, and maybe if Usyk's able to get by Joshua, maybe somehow pass Tyson
win the other
Fury.
belts,
Yeah,
win the other belts, and then a fourth fight could be credible. Let's be honest here, though. Like I wouldn't say no to a fourth fight if Wilder goes and beats Usyk.
yeah.
You know what I
How
mean?
do
But hold the fourth fight in the UK.
how does the fight with Usyk and Wilder look to you?
Uh, remember, Usyk doesn't stay flat-footed, so I think Usyk will outbox him. Usyk won't be there for him to hit.
Usyk Fury. AJ Wilder, loser, loser, winner, winner. That
There's
sounds
a
like
lot of win-loser, first winner here, loser.
yeah. I'm not mad at that though. I'm not mad at Usyk and Fury, AJ Wilder. I'm not mad at that at all. I think that makes for two epic heavyweight showdowns. I'm not mad at that.
And as
Wilder,
you know, like these young guys that are coming up, like you said, that fought today, like even that other guy that in the earlier fight before the Frank Sanchez fight, what was his name? He brought I couldn't speak the big guy. I forgot his name. Wilson was some big guy, but he looked all
definitely a
right. But
juggler. You talking about a
huh?
juggler?
Yeah, he's going to be good. I reckon he just needs to do a few things, change up a bit. They're still young, so they're going to be um, they're going to develop a bit more. But we all saying give Fury Dillian White, but if Dillian White gets beaten by Otto Wallin, then it fucking throws another spanner in the works, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Holy
Because
shit.
you're not going to put Otto up against Fury because Fury will just eat him alive.
Yeah.
Because Otto's good, but he's not. And this is where the boxing fans annoy me because when Otto fought Fury, if Fury didn't have that cut on his eye, Otto Wallin was getting dominated.
Right.
So it's because there was a bit of blood. Everyone thought that it was a big dramatic, knockdown. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
It's like seeing somebody down on the ground with blood or down on the ground sleeping. When they've got blood, it's a big dramatic thing, so. But actual facts, but he declined Mayweather's help. I don't know why you could decline Mayweather's help. He's arguably the best defensive fighter to ever live, the best hit you and not get hit boxer to ever live. Like he is the best of the best, and he said he would help Wilder, and he said Wilder wouldn't lose if Mayweather helped him. So,
I think I don't know. I mean, to me, it's hard. no matter who's working with Wilder, to me, it would be very hard because I think Malik Scott had a good game plan for him, and I think if he would have continued to do what Malik Scott was telling him to do, he would have won the fight. But because he couldn't stick to the game plan and he ended up reverting back, that's the reason he ended up actually losing. So I mean, I don't know if Mayweather or even Jesus would have made a difference, considering the fact that he ended up reverting back anyway. Maybe he
Well, the
just needed
thing
some
is,
time and experience
yeah.
fighting like that. That's probably what it was, what it is.
Well, the thing is, though, King, even if Fury allowed him to continue to fight like that, Fury would have gotten into the fight and started to box himself. Do you see what I'm saying? So,
Mm.
like, and we started to see that Fury's jabs weren't fucking jabs; they were like right hands to the face. His jabs, if you watch closely, they're like proper Kronk jabs, like like really really tough jabs.
Yeah.
Wilder's 35, about to turn 36. Yeah, well, that's right. He's Derek Chisora's age almost, 36, 30, 37, 38. No, Derek Chisora's 39, 38, yeah. But he's almost on the verge of retirement, but I still believe he's got a few, maybe 4 or 5 fights in him.
Yeah. Well, one thing for sure, Fury once again showed that he does have dog in him. I agree with what you said, Sean Russell. Man, this dude got off the ground 2 times and got up like nothing happened, honestly. I mean, you couldn't tell that anything was wrong, when he got up off of the canvas. Really good poker face. That's like a testament to the experience, because there were times I could tell that he was winded and he was hurt. And I could tell, but I could tell that Wilder couldn't tell, and most people couldn't tell because he was just so good at hiding it and masking it. So, that's a testament to his experience and skills. Usyk would beat Wilder easy. Well, I mean, that's the thing about Wilder is, I mean, I think that most heavyweights are better boxers than him, but Wilder has the equalizer, which makes him competitive in any fight. So
makes him more than competitive, especially if he's learning his little tricks and trades over the next 2 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The tricks.
This is what I'm saying. If he goes back and watches this fight, he goes, "Wow, I actually did a few things good."
Mm-hmm.
And like, if I was Wilder as well, literally, if I was Wilder, this is what I would do potentially. This is just an idea. I would lose a bit of weight, go way back down, because we're talking about weight here. I'd lose weight and go way back down and win the fucking cruiserweight titles.
Interesting. He could do that.
Because he's naturally a skinny, tall, lanky sort of guy. Yeah. So I would lose maybe what? He's 230. I'd lose maybe 20, 30, go down to cruiserweight and smash up that weight and win titles there. Then you can say he was a 2-weight world champion. So I don't know. That's just another idea because I just think there's too many big guys in the heavyweight division right now that are causing him too many problems. A couple of years ago when AJ wasn't really noticeable, he was fighting all these, has-beens like the, Staverns, the Ortizes, the Brazils, all these sorts of guys. So, it makes for a interesting next few months to see what sort of route Wilder takes. But knowing him and his personality and how he acted at the end of this fight today, like he didn't want to shake Fury's hand and all that sort of crap, I thought was very immature, sore loser mentality. And I think that's a bit disrespectful to his fans, if that makes sense, because his fans are backing him. Now his fans are acting like him.
I think they said that Wilder went straight to the hospital, though. I think but he could have shook Fury's hand, but I think he went straight to the hospital, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, what's that ear thing that he busted last time? His legal Ingram, whatever it's called. I forgot. I don't even know how to say that word.
Like a ruptured eardrum or something.
Yeah, it re-ruptured. Fury got it again, so his balance was off, again.
Wow. Yeah, Fury likes to throw a lot of those looping right hands to the
long arms, awkward.
To the temple, and yeah, man, they get in there and they're brutal. They're actually directed at the eardrum because the punches are very intentional.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Like when Fury's throwing and did you notice when Wilder was boxing, standing there, he kept going to the left? Did you notice that?
I did.
Like, he kept going to the same fucking side, the side that Fury was throwing the right hand. So he'd go left and Fury would throw the right hand and he'd walk into it.
Yep.
That's why his eardrum got busted again. So that's a mistake on Malik's coaching. Because if I would have seen that, I would have said, don't do that. Engage with him. Because did you notice this time when Wilder engaged with Fury, like got in close, Fury wasn't able to do the physicality like he did in the second fight because he was a bit heavier. Wilder. So Wilder was actually, matching him with pushing him back a little bit. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did.
So I would have just said, wrap up, hold him there, and then push off and try and get that jab going. Don't go left, because Fury's ring IQ is way too good. Like, it's just way too good.
Also, too, Wilder is horrible at clinching. That was one thing I was, when he was hurt, he wasn't able to hold Fury successfully. He wasn't able to clinch in order to kind of weather the storm. His clinches were very loose, so Fury was able to break free of it and then land an extra 2 or 3 punches after that. So I feel like that should have been something that should have thoroughly been worked on at his training camp, because when Fury was hurt by Wilder, Fury was able to clinch Wilder and get through those moments relatively easily. But Wilder, not the same. So, I don't know if that had something to do with the weight or just a skill thing. Probably even a little bit of both. But I wasn't happy with that from Wilder. Like, when you get hurt like that, you get inside and you clinch and you hold his arms down
which
low.
is what Fury did. He
Fury
just kept ducking and just grabbed him and but when he grabbed him, it wasn't so much of a grab. It was more running into him body on body, like a rugby run into each other sort of thing. Fury just physically did the same thing to him,
Right.
to the smaller guy. Because remember, Wilder is a lot smaller than Fury in regards, not so much height, but in regards to weight differences. And when I looked at Fury taking his t-shirt off, everyone in the pub was like, "Oh, he's fat, he's fit." Like, there's no way he's going for Wilder. Like, all the guys in the pub were saying that, and I said, you watch him outbox Wilder after the 3rd round, and there you go. So I just wish all this week, King, all this whole week, I've just been on group chats, and everyone's been saying Fury's overrated. Wilder's going to catch him this time. He's been working on this. He's been working on that. Wilder's going to catch him, and he's not getting up. That's what they've all been saying. He's going to hit him once, and he's going down. He's staying down. I said, you better hope he's staying down, because Fury's got a lot of heart. He just has this thing where he gets back up, and he just doesn't care. And he looks good when he gets back up. He's very focused, very calm. He's not, in the corner. Nobody's freaking out, And that's what happened. The fight went exactly the way I thought it went, and Fury is now the what would you call it? The reigning, defending WBC lineal heavyweight champion of the world.
Yes, he is.
And he's also got every other belt. He's got every other belt as well, because it's realistically those belts Usyk and AJ has. Well, those belts belong to Fury. They're his belts. You see what I'm saying? Like, realistically, they're his belts. That's why he's called the lineal champion.
Mm-hmm. True enough. Jay says Wilder's in need of stamina. I agree that the stamina was definitely an issue, but I think Fury's stamina was just amazing. I think Wilder still had good stamina, because for you to get put down and get back up, your stamina, your conditioning has to be good. That's not something a normal person could do when they're hurt as badly as Wilder was in the 3rd round. So for him to get back up and continue to fight and throw punches, showed that he had pretty good stamina. But I think Fury's stamina was just tremendous. For him to carry around 280 pounds and get up from off multiple knockdowns and still fight and still be dominant. I mean, that's just amazing. You know what I mean?
Well, that's exactly right. What Tully just said. Underestimate Fury at your peril. So that's practically saying you can continue to underestimate. I hear Wilder's retiring. Fury fight maybe his last. We'll see about that, Stephen. I hope Wilder doesn't retire. I do believe he doesn't have the right people around him. I don't think, honest, I really don't think he has the right people around him. I think that they're all yes men and they're trying to help him with different things. He needs a complete new, different camp. Would you be opposed to that, King, or not?
I wouldn't say he needs a complete new camp, but I would say that he probably should think about adding somebody to his camp in order to, I want polish some of his skills because he has the skills. I mean, people forget that Wilder was an Olympic bronze medalist, so you can't really go to the Olympics and win a bronze medal if you don't have the skills. But I think his skills are very, very unrefined, and they need to be polished and tweaked. And I think he could bring somebody in to help along with that. But I like the job that Malik Scott is doing. I think Malik Scott came in with a good game plan. I like the advice that Malik Scott was giving him in the corner. I don't know if you heard some of the advice that Malik Scott was giving him. Even in the third round, after Wilder was knocked down, Malik Scott got in his face and gave him a speech, and then Wilder came out in that fourth round and knocked Fury down.
So I've got a question for you, King. This is the other thing that I didn't understand why Malik Scott would do it, but why did they come in trying to outbox Fury? It wasn't he wasn't completely trying to outbox Fury, but he was trying to, just box Fury. And all he should have done was work out different ways to effectively get Fury down with that right hand. Why were they trying to do the body shots? Why were they trying to do the hooks to the body? Why were they, why? I don't understand that. His forte is knocking people out. So work on executing the right hand against Fury, because Fury was there to be hit. Like, I don't understand that. He just kept trying to do boxing.
I think that's very much what they were doing. They were trying to mask the right hand. The problem with the right hand is it from Wilder is it very telegraphed, and it's very predictable when he consistently throws it behind a jab all the time as a 1-2. So Fury was able to, once it became predictable after the maybe fifth or sixth round, Fury was
Ducks to the
able to
right.
very easily get out of the way of those right hands because he knew they were coming, and he knew the timing of them because they came at the same speed at the same time. So he was very easily able to predict them. So the purpose of Wilder coming out, throwing different kinds of punches, is to kind of keep Fury guessing, so he wouldn't know when the right hand was coming. So it would be like a surprise, especially when the right hands went to the body. When the right hands go to the body, it's just, it's a beautiful thing. It looked like I lost him. I don't know, lost Kangaroo Jack. But just continuing what I'm saying, when the right hands went to the body, it really confused Tyson Fury, because he didn't know whether they were coming to the head or coming to the body. So if you've ever boxed before, you know that you got to put your hands down low in order to guard your body. You wouldn't even have to box to know that. You have to put your hands down low in order to guard your body, but you have to put your hands up high in order to guard your head. And after a while, those body shots hurt. So if you don't know what's coming next, and you have a shot going to you think you have a right hand going to the body, and it comes to the head, well, that could be potentially devastating. That could really hurt you. And that's the purpose of doing things like that, because what you're doing is you're keeping your opponent guessing, and they don't know what punch is coming next, and they don't know when it's coming. But they could have even taken it a step further. They could have changed up the speed of some of those right hands. They could have switched some of those right hands to looping right hands. I didn't see any of that. All the right hands that I saw were all straight right hands. And after the sixth round, they all came behind a jab. So they were all like 1-2s, jab, right hand. So it became very predictable and very easy for Tyson Fury to read. And it ended up costing Deontay Wilder the fight in the long run, because he was no longer able to land the right hand because Fury knew when and where it was coming, which is a huge problem. But to me, Deontay Wilder had he could have won this fight. He could have won this fight if he would have stuck with the original game plan. I liked what Malik Scott was doing. Tyler Mitchell says, what was Malik Scott going to teach him? One shit house teaching another shit house. Hey man, listen, if you look at a lot of the trainers, if you look at their careers as fighters, most of them have very unsuccessful careers. Most trainers, most of them are usually fighters that fell short or have terrible records. Look at Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach is a Hall of Fame boxing trainer, and he had look at Freddie Roach's boxing career. I think he had like 15 losses and like 5 wins. It's something bad. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's a horrible, horrible win-loss ratio, But Freddie Roach is like a Hall of Fame trainer at this point. So, Malik Scott, I think Malik Scott did a good job. I just think that Wilder could not execute the game plan. Something went wrong with the conditioning. Either that or maybe you could just say that Tyson's conditioning was just far superior and he was just more prepared for what came with the fight. It's just been when AJ versus Wilder. It's just been when AJ versus Wilder will happen. Wilder needs to improve his fight game backwards because that's a major problem that doesn't get solved by the team. Wilder still doesn't fight good backing up, but that's not a problem that's easily fixed. In order to fight going backwards, there's a certain level of, you have to have balance, and you have to have good footwork. Wilder is very clumsy and clunky, and for him to try to fight on his back foot would be for him to try to learn a skill that he's just not well suited for. It was a better option for him to fight moving forward, be first, back Fury up, rather than him back up. So if he's first, then he can back Fury up like what he was doing in the first 2 rounds. But, when he's forced to back up, it's never good for him. And then you saw later on in the fight, he was just, it was on a regular thing that he was just up against the ropes and, and as when he's up against the ropes, he starts getting battered, and that's not a good thing for him. Why is it that heavyweight fighters can weigh 40 pounds more? In the UFC and all other weight classes are pound for pound, are a pound over at most. Well, heavyweight division is the master division, that's just boxing. It's always been like that. It used to be back in the days where they're like, now they have like so many weight classes, but at one point, like weight classes like middleweight would be all the way from 160 all the way to like 160 to like 154. All of that would be middleweight, so they just added these new weight classes, but heavyweight specifically, it's just a part of the game, man. Which is why heavyweight is always going to be the baddest division, because that's the only division where you can do that, and you have to be ready to fight whoever, whenever, however, Kung Fu heavyweight division has no limit. Absolutely no limit. White Duck is in the building and says, wonder if Wilder would fight a second tier heavyweight money. I think he should, man. Like I was saying earlier, I think Wilder should go after Dillian White and Derek Chisora and some of those guys. I think he should go after those guys if he can and fight himself back into position for a title. I think that he could beat those guys. I think he could fight himself back into position. I think if he could secure a few wins over those guys, incorporate a few more skills, maybe he rematches Tyson Fury or somebody else, whoever else the top guy is at that time, and maybe makes another run. It's very much possible. I like what Kangaroo said. Kangaroo said something along the lines of him dropping down the cruiserweight and going after those belts down there at cruiserweight. I think that'd be real interesting if he were to try something like that. Considering he's about 30 or 40 pounds over the weight limit for cruiserweight, It'd be probably pretty hard for him to do something like that, but shit, I mean, it'd be a hell of an idea. He could be a two-time, he could be a multiple weight division champion. He has the frame for it, for sure. Wilder keeps throwing rapid punches like he did. Wilder keeps throwing rapid punches like he did in this fight. Wilder definitely threw some rapid punches. But I think he was trying to. Wilder's not typically a rapid puncher. I think he was more so trying to adapt to what Tyson Fury was doing and kind of match it. But I don't think that he doesn't typically fight that way, and it shows. Tyson Fury is much more suited to fight that way than Deontay Wilder. Kung Fu. It's because the ground game is a huge advantage to heavier guys, but boxing, smaller guys can get KOs. Absolutely. Yeah, man. You got a 250-pound guy, trying to grapple you to the ground. It's much different than boxing a guy, you know what I mean? And, in boxing, you can knock out a guy that's heavier than you, but trying to grapple a guy that's 50 pounds heavier than you is a whole different story. W. Rao says his equalizer is a myth. I don't know about that now. W. Rouse. I mean, Wilder has almost 100% knockout ratio. So I don't know if you're talking about Wilder, but he has almost 100% knockout ratio. I mean, you can't get any better than that, like, even if you tried. So I think the only person, I mean, he's taken, he's had a draw with Fury. He's lost twice to Fury now. But outside of those three losses, everyone else he's knocked. There's one other person he didn't knock out. What's the guy's name? I forget the guy's name. Berman Stavern. There we go. In the first fight. Other than Berman Stavern and Tyson Fury, everyone else Deontay Wilder has knocked out. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive knockout ratio. An equalizer is indeed the real deal, my friend. For real. Telly says Tyson had the stamina. He runs 5K every morning before starting the gym. Yes, he did. And if that's indeed what he does, then that would make sense. He clearly was he's better suited to go into the later rounds than Deontay Wilder, and it showed. Deontay Wilder completely gassed out. It was to the point where he couldn't even throw the right hand well. It was a half-assed right hand as it went into the later rounds. Even though he was able to hurt Fury a few times, it was a right hand that was severely lacking in the power that it had in the first half of the fight. And as a result, Fury was able to walk through it pretty easily. Some of them, most of them, not all of them, but some of them still hurt him. Wilder, dusty eardrum. And still, UK. I celebrate that win. Wilder got punished with the overhand right. Yeah, man. The overhand right. Fury was throwing his right hand. He throws it at a very awkward angle. I don't even know if you could call it an overhand right. It's not even an overhand right per se. It's a very awkward right hand. It's kind of looping, but it's not really all the way looping. It's not a straight right hand. It's a very awkward right hand that Tyson Fury throws. But sure, if you want to call it an overhand right, I mean, you're not wrong for that. If you want to even call it a looping right hand, you're not wrong for that. I think it's in the same class. Whatever it is, it's a Tyson right hand. You know what I mean? A Tyson Fury right hand. He will hide because he's a clear loser with a capital L, 3-time loser. I thought he was going to show Tyson. It's what happens when you believe in fairy tales. Run along, bum squad. Wow, my guy. Good stuff. I mean, this was a good fight, man. Honestly, bro, like, you're talking right now like like Fury dominated the whole fight. I mean, that wasn't the case. Fury could have lost this fight. There were several times during this fight where Fury almost lost this fight. You know what I mean? This was a fight between two warriors that went back and forth, and it could have went either way, but it went to Fury. You know, Fury had the better conditioning at the end of the day, which, in my opinion, was the biggest reason he was able to win this fight because of his superior conditioning. So, I mean, all the name calling and all that, you know, it's unnecessary. I think we need to give both of these warriors their due respect. At the end of the day, good stuff. Federal Six says Team Wilder didn't have breathing exercises in place, nor did they recognize his oxygen intake was lacking. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. That should be an issue for whoever Wilder's strength and conditioning coach is. Does Wilder even have a strength and conditioning coach? Can anybody in the comment answer that question? Does Wilder have a strength and conditioning coach? You know, because if he does, then that person needs to be questioned, because there were clearly some stamina issues that needed to be addressed. For sure. Oh shit, hold on. I skipped a whole bunch of shit. Where are we at here? Fuck. It was a good fight. Yeah, man. I agree with you, Samuel Rodriguez. It was a good fight, man. Nobody should be ashamed of themselves after this fight. Um, both fighters should hold their heads up high, man. This was a damn good fight. Wilder just don't have a boxing IQ. I think he does, but I think Wilder has a boxing IQ. I just think that um Wilder has just been he's just too right hand happy, man. You know, it's like when you have success doing something and you get to a point in your mind where you just feel like if you do that enough, that is just gonna work, even though you have the ability to do other things. You know, I think it just becomes like a mental block and it inhibits your progress. He needs more technical skills, though, and now fighters have the blueprint to beat Wilder. I don't think other fighters are going to be able to beat Wilder the way Fury did. They're just not going to be able to do it. Most of those heavyweights are not going to be able to walk through the right hands like Fury was able to walk through those right hands. Remember, Fury was 280 pounds. There's not another heavyweight right now that's 280 pounds. Most heavyweights, if not all heavyweights, are going down after a few of those right hands. So I don't see anybody really beating Deontay Wilder, really, aside from Tyson Fury. I know a lot of people are thinking Usyk probably beats him, but that's up in the air, really, to me. You know, at this point, the NASAC will just have to tell Wilder to fuck off, no matter stay Ackland. Yeah, you know, those horsehair gloves, man. I mean, they're legal. You know, I mean, we got that resolved once and for all today. However, I should they be legal? That's a whole nother question. Should they be legal? I don't know, because I don't know that they necessarily protect fighters in the way that fighters should be protected. So, serious question. Wilder ran out of gas, Steve Mitchell. Yes, he did, man. He ran out of gas for sure. Tonight was the first time I saw Wilder fight. How did he get far without boxing techniques? He's really good at throwing one punch. Yeah, but that one punch is devastating, though, T. Dot. That one punch is devastating. So although he's really good at throwing that one punch is devastating. You know, so if you have that one punch KOs mostly everybody who gets hit by it. So that's how he's able to get that far, you know. But other than that, I mean, honestly, man, Wilder has other weapons. You know, he just doesn't use the other weapons. It's what I was saying before. He doesn't use those other weapons, but he has them. Fury should take Wilder to court after the bum showed no sportsmanship for all the cheating accusations. You know, if Fury was gonna take him to court, he should have took him to court already. You know, it's over now. One thing I'm glad about after all this shit is that this is over now. You know, we can move on and we can talk about unification and undisputed now. This shit is over, you know. Was the older Brit on the show saying he had a boxing career? Yeah, he was. He was saying that he was a boxer, that he had boxed in the days. He said he had boxed Mike Tyson, and he said he had boxed some other well-known fighters before. You know, that's what he's saying. I don't know that for fact, but that's what he's saying. Jason Sanders says Wilder can't even acknowledge his fans right now. Sad. Yeah, I think, you know, a dude like Wilder, man, he's probably taking it real hard. That's definitely not the way to handle that type of situation, but you know, I can imagine that this is a devastating loss for him, considering just everything that's gone into this, the amount of time he's trained, all the back and forth, the accusations between the two, just everything that went into this. I imagine that this was a very, very, very tough loss for Deontay Wilder, and I understand. I understand the hurt. However, that's definitely not a reason to not address the fans and and things like that. But I imagine he probably will. You know, I imagine he probably will. But um, maybe he needs some time to collect himself. You know, maybe he needs some time to collect himself. Hold on. I think Fury should at least have another fight at least before he retires. Absolutely, man. I don't want Fury to retire. We were talking about that earlier. And um, they were talking about how if Fury retired, that they would be okay with that. I think Kangaroo said he'd be okay with that, but I'm not necessarily good with that, man. I don't. Now that Fury has established itself as the best heavyweight as of right now, in order for him to be considered an all-time great to me, he needs to reign at heavyweight. I need to see him dominate the division for a while. Okay, like some of the greats before him, like Lennox Lewis and Vladimir Klitschko um, and Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson. I need to see him reign at the division. I don't want to see him fight in a few good fights and then just leave the division or retire. If he retires, fine. I mean, I get it. You know, your health is more important. Your mental health is more important. Everything is more important than boxing. However, if you were to just fight Wilder and then retire, I don't know that I could consider Fury an all-time great, and mention him in the same breath as some of the all-time great heavyweight champions. But I mean, this is, he's definitely on a good path for sure. But I would definitely want him to reign for sure. Wilder versus Parker would be good. Yeah, that'd be a good. I think Wilder would knock Parker out though, but that'd be a good little scrap. Fury won't retire. He wants all the belts back, and then he will leave. Yeah, go ahead and get all the belts. Go get them. That's what I want to see. That's what the fans want to see. The fans want to see undisputed champions. So go get the belts. I think Fury, after this fight, I think his star power will have grown as well. So now, it'll be much different situation than when he fought Klitschko back in the day. So yeah, go to Usyk or AJ, whoever comes out on top in that exchange, and go get those belts. That's what I want to see. That's what boxing fans want to see. Make it happen. Hey, man, and if anybody's new to the channel, we got 185 people, man. I want to see 185 likes on there. And also, if anybody's new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel, man. I'm always here talking boxing. And, I'd be much appreciated if you guys will go ahead and subscribe to the channel, man. For real, for real. Kenneth Salter says, who can go 33 rounds with that monster? Wilder got heart. Absolutely. Wilder do got heart. Wilder do got heart, man. Man, I gotta say, man, after about round 6, Fury just kind of started battering Wilder, man. Wilder took some shots. They both took some real heavy shots. They both did, you know. But Wilder definitely took the worst of the shots. And the fact that he was still able to stand up and he was still fighting back despite all the punishment that he was taking from Fury says a lot about Wilder. It says a hell of a lot about Wilder. You know? Andor Sugar, man. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that, my guy. Appreciate that. This fight turned out like how some predicted. It's a very close fight with both being knocked out. A better Wilder with some getting knocked out at the end. With someone getting knocked at the end. Yeah. With someone being knocked out at the end. Yeah, man. Whoever predicted that is a smart person, man. I knew that this was going to be a completely different fight than the second fight. I think if you look at that second fight, I think there's a lot of questions that, you know, a rational thinking person could ask about that second fight. So me coming into this fight, I knew that this fight was going to be completely different than the second fight. And it was. This was a war. This was a back and forth war. This was an exchange. This was epic. Jay Ledger says that would be epic. Poetic says, great fight, no doubt. Sad that Wilder couldn't show respect to Fury when he came out over the end. Yeah, man. That would have been nice if he could, if they could shake hands and, you know, maybe hug it out or something like that. I think that would have been really dope for something like that to happen. Caveman said, did the excuses from the last fight hurt him because he still believed them? Man, you know, at the end of the day, Wilder didn't execute the game plan. That's really what it was. If Wilder could have did what he was doing in the first round, if he could have did that for at least 5 or 6 rounds, Wilder would have won this fight. Wilder would have won this fight to me. Your boy got knocked the fuck out. He got knocked out, man. You know, I'm not a Wilder fanboy, though. You know, I'm a fan of boxing. You know, this isn't a fanboy channel. You know, he got knocked out. It was a good fight, you know. And I think, you know, and I think that's all as boxing fans. And if you ask any of the Wilder fanboys, right, if you ask any of them, I think that's all anyone ever wanted, right, was a fair one. A fair fight, a fight between two men where they both could display their skills to their heart's content. That's all anyone ever wanted, you know. This was always from the beginning a 50-50 fight. I said that earlier. I'm saying it again. This was always from the beginning a 50-50 fight, which is why the second fight was always an issue for a lot of people, because the fight didn't resemble what it should have, which is a 50-50 fight. So now that we're seeing this third fight, how close it was, how much of a war it was, why wasn't the second fight like this? That's a question that any rational thinking person would have to ask. Right hands alone won't beat Fury. 100%, man. I agree with you, bro. I agree with you. Wilder went right hand crazy after the 6th round, 5th and 6th round. All he was throwing was right hands. It was so predictable. You didn't need to be Tyson Fury in order to know those right hands were coming. The way Wilder fought after the 6th round, I don't know if any of you guys watched Frank Sanchez fight tonight. I think Frank Sanchez would have been able to beat Deontay Wilder. like similar to how he beat Efe Ajagba. I didn't see Deontay Wilder doing anything different after the 6th round, okay? Because prior to the 6th round, Wilder showed versatility and he showed diversity in his punch selection. But after the 6th round, he reverted to throwing 1-2s. Okay, 1-2s over and over again, similar to Efe Ajagba in the earlier fight. So prior to that, I didn't see, I could see somebody like Frank Sanchez being able to beat Wilder at that point. Once you become predictable, it's very hard to beat a boxer. And Wilder became too predictable. Will Wilder get rid of his trainer and come out with a barrage of excuses of self-pity? Can't feel sorry for the deluded. I think Malik Scott did a good job. I don't think this is on Malik Scott. I know a lot of people are gonna blame Malik Scott, but I think Malik Scott did a good job. If you think about it, Malik Scott brought the best out of Deontay Wilder. Malik Scott was the reason he was able to have a performance the way he had, was one of the reasons why he was able to have a performance like the one he did. Let's not pretend like this wasn't an exciting and epic performance by Deontay Wilder. Yeah, he fell short, but again, he had several opportunities to win this fight. Several opportunities to win this fight. Just because it didn't happen, it doesn't, everybody falls short. Everybody loses. Happens. Kenneth Salter says, I don't see anyone else beating Wilder. Me either. Me either, Kenneth. I agree with you. Fury's a tough man, taking right hands and getting back up. Absolutely, man. Fury got up after taking a solid right hand. There was one right hand that Fury took in the 4th round where I just saw you could just see his love handles and everything just jiggle. You know what I mean? Like his whole body just permeated from the impact of that right hand. And it was it was rough. But despite getting hit like that, Fury got up, and you wouldn't know from anything on his face that he was in any kind of pain. He got up like nothing had happened, and he continued to fight as if he didn't get knocked down. Did a good job at clinching on the inside when he was hurt. Had a great poker face. He did a lot of really good things in the ring there, Tyson Fury. Steve Mitchell giving me the thumbs up. Appreciate you, Steve Mitchell. Steve Mitchell says Fury wasn't using feints. Yeah, you noticed that too, Steven? Yeah, he wasn't using feints. Tyson Fury is one of those guys that, if you've watched him fight before, he's one of those guys that's like super excessive with a lot of the feints, but he wasn't really using feints this time around. He wasn't really using feints. He was really more so just coming straight in, and using his jab to come in rather than using feints, So yeah, I saw that too, man. He didn't use too many feints, even though that's kind of his calling card, a lot of those feints. Deontay Wilder's new name is One Punch Man. It's actually pretty clever, L. Harris. I actually appreciate it. That's pretty clever. Anybody new in the building, man, make sure you hit the subscribe button. You guys all make sure you like the channel, man. Much appreciated. We always talking boxing over here. Wilder should have taken Floyd's help or Tarver's help or went to one of the greats. They all offered. Yeah, I mean, I think if he had somebody like that in his corner, I mean, it certainly wouldn't have hurt him. But again, I don't think that Malik Scott did a bad job. I think Malik Scott had a good game plan for Wilder. I think if Wilder could have executed the game plan, then he would have beat Fury. So I mean, having a Mayweather or Tarver in there to give him a game plan. I mean, you can have the best game plan in the world, but if you don't execute it, I mean, the game plan is useless. You know. So I do feel like a Wilder, or I mean, not a Wilder, a Floyd or a Tarver. I do feel like they could have gotten here and they could have helped. They could have made things better, but I certainly don't feel like if one of them were there, that it would have changed the outcome of this fight. I don't think Mayweather being there would have um, caused Deontay Wilder to win. I mean, it's a possibility, but to me, it's a small one. A small one. Stephen Mitchell says Wilder should use black magic as a weapon. Wow, Stephen. Really? Really, Stephen? Sam McGlig says Wilder's a disgrace. His performance will be overlooked by the disrespect he's shown Fury at the end. I don't know about all that. I think we're just in the moment right now. I think Wilder is probably going to come out maybe in a day or so, and you're going to probably hear him say something to the effect of, congratulating Fury and giving him his props on a tough fight. I think you're going to hear Wilder come out and say something like that. And once he comes out and says that or gives that kind of acknowledgement, I think that people will remember that and they'll probably forget this, what happened right after the fight, Yeah, those are my thoughts on that. Is it too late in the game for Wilder to add the biggest toolbox enough to have a chance against Fury realistically? I mean, kinda. I mean, Wilder's what, 36, 37? He wouldn't he I mean, he certainly wouldn't be able to absorb most of what a Floyd Mayweather would be able to teach him. Because if you think about the way that Floyd fights, I mean, it's completely different to me than the way that a Wilder should fight, right? Like, I wouldn't pick Floyd for a trainer for Wilder because to me, he's not well suited for it. Like, Wilder's footwork is the antithesis to what Floyd was as a fighter. Floyd is known for having great balance, great footwork, great defense, great counterpunching. These are not things that Wilder does well. So why would he try to learn these new skills at the age of 36 that he's just not suited for? To me, a better option for Wilder, if he was to pick up a trainer, like another trainer, and try to learn some stuff, to me, a more suited person would be Derek James, which is Earl Spence trainer. I think Derek James would actually do a great job with Deontay Wilder. Derek James would teach Wilder to fight on his front foot, fight in the pocket, which are things that I think Wilder can do, but just needs a little bit of help doing. Derek James doesn't rely on a lot of lateral movement. A lot of his fighting takes place in the pocket. I think somebody like a Derek James would be very, very good for somebody like Wilder. So if he was able to pick up a trainer like that or add a trainer like that to his camp, I think that would do much better than somebody like a Mayweather who's going to try to attempt to teach him skills that he's just not equipped to be able to learn. When I say that, think about Adrian Broner, right? Think about how Adrian Broner tried to become Floyd Mayweather and tried to adopt a lot of Mayweather's skills, but he's just not well suited for it. So because he's not suited for it, when he tries to do it in fights, it just doesn't work. Because he doesn't have the natural ability and he doesn't have the experience using those skills to be successful at it at the highest level. So, it's literally a waste of time for somebody like Wilder to try to do something like that for me. Derek James would be a much better option than a Floyd Mayweather for me to try to do that. Let me go back here. Shit, I skipped over a lot of stuff. He'll be having nightmares about Fury. You probably right. Man, Wilder knew he couldn't beat Tyson Fury. I don't know about all that, man. He had a legit chance, CBN boxing. He had a legit chance. I wanted Fury to win, but I feel sorry for Wilder. All the being brave and confident before the fight and still lost, even in the confidence with the new trainer, Malik Scott. Well, you're supposed to be all that, Steven. You're supposed to be all that when you're getting ready to fight somebody. Yeah, you feel sorry for him. Yeah, I was being really confident. Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to feel like that before a fight. I feel like Wilder put forth his best effort. He put forth a great performance. You know, he came up short, but he put forth a great performance, a performance in which he could have won. Realistically, he just fell short. Beating Wilder don't make you the best. I mean, it makes you something. It makes you something. You know, I mean, ain't a lot of people that could say they beat Wilder. Only person that can say they beat Wilder is Tyson Fury. That's the only person. Everybody else, Wilder has knocked out. Stephen says, according to Fury, Wilder's the most dangerous fighter out there at the moment. Yeah, he is, though. He really is. I mean, if you think about what Fury did in order to be able to win, Fury went up to 280 pounds in order to be able to absorb and take Wilder's punches better. And think about Fury's training camp. Fury brought in Jared Anderson and Efe Ajagba into his training camp. Think about it, like Efe Ajagba, another hard-hitting heavyweight with an almost 100% knockout ratio. And then you have a Jared Anderson, a slick heavyweight. He had him in there for sparring. So, I mean, you know, he said it himself. Yeah. Done. Round 4 coming. Round 4 is coming, man. Wilder knows he can't beat Fury. Can't see a fourth fight. It still might happen, though. Still might happen. Caveman says, you're running this show great solo. Appreciate you, Caveman. I appreciate you, man. Wilder's corner looked a bit confused at certain times. They did. At one point, I looked into the corner, man, and it looked like they were unsure who was going to give Wilder instructions. So, yeah, I have to agree with you there. They looked a little bit confused at times. That's why he's the Gypsy King. Wilder, man, bad loser. And his girlfriend, man, she's more interested in her mobile. She has a bigger eyelash than her mama. Wow. Wilder and Bum Squad was schooled in boxing. This was a close fight, man. Come on, guys. Y'all gotta come on, man. This was a close fight. Even on the scorecards, they had Fury up maybe a round or two on the scorecards. So if this fight had went 12, if Wilder would have won in maybe the 12th round or the 11th or in 12th round, he possibly still could have won this fight. Possibly still. So some did predict Fury would possibly get knocked out. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad prediction considering everything that happened. Fury would have got up a few seconds slower off of, the last time he got knocked down, then yeah, it would have happened. Also, too, a lot of when Fury got knocked down, and it happened when, it would happen like at the end of the round, So if those knockdowns actually happened, maybe towards the middle of the round or the beginning of the round, Fury probably would have been in a lot of trouble because he was saved by the bell a few times or knocked down. Yeah. I think most people predicted that this fight would end in a knockout. I certainly didn't predict that this fight would go this long. I didn't see this fight going past the 8th round, and it went all the way to the 11th round. So that's a testament to both fighters having a fight going all the way to the 11th round. Caveman says likes and subs. Appreciate that, Caveman. Appreciate that, my guy. Stephen Mitchell, Wilder should have brought a machete to the boxing match. His only hope. Oh my goodness, man. Come on, bro. A machete. Oh man. Kenneth Salter says, thanks for this show. Love talking boxing. Good times. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Me too, man. That's why we all do this, right? We all love talking boxing, man. And it's especially good to talk boxing after such a fucking legendary fight, man. That fight was legendary. We're going to tell our kids that we saw this fight. It's going to be one of those fights to remember. It really is. God Almighty bless Tyson Fury. Love you, bro. Appreciate that, Dean. Wash hands. You got to really know how to box to beat Fury. Yeah. But it's not just boxing. Like, to me, Alexander Usyk is a better boxer, but I don't see him beating Fury. I believe you need the size too. I think you need the size as well as the boxing ability. What makes Tyson Fury special is the size coupled with the boxing ability and the conditioning. The conditioning and the speed is what makes him special. So to me, if you're gonna beat Tyson Fury, yeah, you got to know how to box, but you also got to have some size too. You got to have some size to keep him from leaning on you, and taking away and draining your stamina and weakening your legs, and that played a role too, because that Fury did do that in the fight with Wilder. He would lean on him from time to time, and the leaning on you thing, it weakens the legs. You're putting on that weight on the legs, it's tiring them out. So that's probably another reason why we saw Wilder kind of wobbly as the fight progressed. He was on weak legs from being leaned on by Tyson Fury. Slow motion is faster than Wilder. Yeah, man. The conditioning fell short, man, and he kept throwing those right hands, even though they were slow as molasses when it got later on into the fight. So it did more harm than good, because the slower they are, the easier they are to counter. And that's one thing that Tyson Fury did. He would wait on those right hands that he knew was coming, and then he would counter it. It became easy. If Fury becomes undisputed, there goes boxing back into the dark ages. Klitschko era. Ah, man. I don't think that Fury's even would stick around as long as a Klitschko. I don't see him doing that. I see Fury, honestly, man, even though I don't like this, I see Fury beating Usyk if he's a fight Usyk, and then retiring. I don't see him sticking around much longer. But if he did reign a while like Klitschko, yeah, that would kind of suck. But it would also be cool to watch a heavyweight undisputed champion reign in the division and beat up some of these young guys, you know. But like I was saying earlier in the stream, man, some of these young guys give him issues. Some of these young guys give Tyson Fury some legit problems. So I don't know that Fury is able to reign as long as somebody like a Klitschko. So it would be interesting to see how long he could go on a reign. It'd be interesting to see. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Fury has proved that he's the main man. He is. He proved it. He proved it tonight. He did. Like Fury said leading up to the fight, Wilder can't beat me. The only way he can beat me is if he brings a gun into the ring. He brought a gun. I'm just messing with you, man. Yeah. I mean, you know, Fury's definitely a confident guy, man. But, you know, this fight showed that he can be beaten. Wilder could have beaten him. He can be beaten. Think that's true? Nah, I don't. I think Fury can be beaten. I think he can be beaten. I don't think that he's impenetrable. I think that there were a lot of vulnerabilities that were shown in this fight with Wilder. Although he looked good, he also looked vulnerable at times. And I think that there are some things that other heavyweights can exploit in order to get a win over Tyson Fury. So I don't think that you need per se a gun in order to beat Tyson Fury. I don't think Wilder needs a gun to beat Tyson Fury. I think that this fight at times could have gone either way. Fury was the better man tonight, but it didn't have to be that way. Hate to say it, no heavyweight can mess with Fury. He's going to easily be undisputed. Yeah, I think you're right now, Ray. I think you're right about that. Wilder every time looks tired. Yeah, man. Wilder looked ragged and tired and exhausted. You know, after the 6th round, after he had got up from that knockdown, and after the 6th round where he reverted to just throwing right hands, it looked like he had just panicked. He had some success with the right hand and he had panicked. And I think he even punched himself out a few times. One thing about Wilder is when he feels like he's so used to stopping people, when he feels like he has you hurt, he won't hesitate to throw the whole kitchen sink at you, you know, and that could be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. Like, you know, you have to have some tact when you're throwing punches, you know, in order to conserve stamina. So when Wilder feels like he has you hurt, he'll just throw a bunch of punches. And a lot of times the punches that he throws aren't accurate. And a lot of times well, not a lot of times, at least as far as Fury is concerned, he wasn't hurt as badly as Wilder assumed him to be hurt at the time. And Fury was in great condition because he recovered very quickly. Every time he got hurt, he would recover. And that was detrimental for Wilder because as Fury's recovering by clinching and by avoiding certain punches and by allowing Wilder to punch himself out, Wilder is exhausting himself by punching himself out. So now Wilder is breathing heavily and gasping and getting ready to fall over, but Fury's almost fully recovered after being hurt by a right hand that Wilder just threw and landed perfectly. But what was executed after the fact didn't go down as well as it should have. Because Wilder wasn't ready to be put on the back foot in the second fight. Fury changed the game plan in the second fight, and Wilder didn't. That's why it was so one-sided. One-sided. Um, I think the game plan was definitely a part of it. But even with that game plan, like look how Wilder fought in this third fight, right? Got knocked down. Wilder got knocked down 4 times in this fight. And that second fight, he didn't get knocked down. I think he got knocked down, what, once? He got knocked down maybe like once. And in that second fight, he took far less punches in that second fight than he did in this fight. You get what I'm saying, Dan? So he got hit way more in this third fight than he got hit in that second fight. But why is it that he looks so damaged in that second fight compared to this fight? In this fight, I say he looked a lot cleaner, a lot better. Even though he looked hurt, he looked like he had been in a fight. He didn't look like as bad as he looked in that second fight. So you have to ask yourself, what's the reasoning for that? And then this is after an 11-round fight versus a fight that got stopped, I think, in 6 rounds is when it was stopped in that second fight. So the game plan thing is, although I get it, I think it only partially played a role. I think there were other things at play there. There's no reason why these two fights should look completely different. The second and third fight, not to me. It shouldn't look vastly different like this. This fight looked more like a 50-50 fight. This fight looked more like a AJ and Klitschko fight when they fought. It looked a lot more close than that second fight. But that shouldn't be that way. If one fighter is way better than the other one, then both the second and third fight should look exactly the same. For that matter, the first fight should have looked like that as well. It wasn't like Wilder just got knocked stone cold out in that second fight. He was backed up and beat up and bloodied up, and nothing about that second fight looked right. This was much more of a reflection of what this fight should look like. A 50-50 fight, a competitive fight, a war, a fight where two top level heavyweights are going back and forth. This is what this fight should look like. And this is why no one should be mad at a fourth fight, because if they did fight a fourth time, that fourth time would look like this. It would look like this. But it may not necessarily end with Tyson Fury winning. It may not necessarily end that way. As of right now, I think it would. Like if the fight happened right away, I think it would. But if Wilder got maybe some more time to take a few other fights, maybe add a few things to his tool set, maybe work with somebody like a Derek James, like what I was mentioning earlier, and polished up some of those skills. Perhaps this is a different fight. Perhaps. That's why Canelo is the face of boxing. Perfect form. He looks like a video game character. Wilder's classless. Oh man. Yeah. I think you're gonna hear him give Fury his props on. I think you'll hear that, because this was a fair one. This looked like a fair one for the most part. Wilder's not getting any younger. Fury's younger than him. True enough. Canelo and Conor McGregor have perfect form, easy to watch. Canelo, perfect form. Conor McGregor. When you say perfect form for Conor McGregor, do you mean his boxing? Because Conor McGregor's boxing, I don't know about that. His boxing doesn't look all that good to me. Canelo has pretty good form, but he can telegraph his punches from time to time. And he's rhythmless for the most part. Steve Mitchell says, not the same Wilder who demolished Audley Harrison for sure. Yeah, yes, I did. Tyson said he got 5 to 6 years left. Did he really say that? I hope he did. I hope he did. That means we get to see him reign. I hope he said that. That would be amazing if he got another 5 or 6 years. But I really doubt that. I seriously doubt that. But if he did say that, I'd be happy. Coming in, hugging Wilder, using his weight, punching Wilder, and punching Wilder this time. Yeah. He's got Dillian White next. Yeah. Dillian White. You saying Fury has Dillian White next? Is that what you're saying? Feel bad for Wilder. Dennis, when did Fury say that? Ruiz Wilder. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Is there a link for YouTube or somebody want to hop on? Hold on, I got you. I just dropped the link. Anybody want to hop on here? Ruiz versus Wilder. That'll be a good one. That'll be a good one. I don't think Ruiz can beat Wilder though. I think Ruiz gets knocked out. Again, I think Wilder beats everybody. Even right now with a lot of his technical flaws. I think he beats everybody except Fury. Even Usyk. Usyk has to be perfect for 12 rounds against Wilder. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. But it's definitely a good fight. And Usyk does have a shot at winning that fight. AJ couldn't knock out Parker. No, he couldn't. Kangaroo Jack said he hated AJ. I don't hate AJ, man. I think AJ is a good guy, man. AJ came in with the wrong game plan versus Usyk. So hopefully he makes the necessary adjustments and does what he's supposed to do in the next fight. But I don't hate AJ. Floyd Mayweather's a good boxer, but at times I found some of his fights boring. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say that about Floyd's fights. Some of them being, a little boring. And, it's because he just makes it too easy. Like, you see one fighter going around and not getting hit, but then hitting, it doesn't make it. It's not very exciting. Boxing fans like these kind of fights, like Wilder Fury 3. Like these are the kind of fights that boxing fans live for. Fights where we see 2 knockdowns on both sides. Both fighters getting knocked down, both fighters getting hurt, both fighters. Boxing fans like these kind of fights. And Mayweather wasn't giving you these type of fights because you're not going to see Mayweather getting knocked down. You're not going to see him getting hurt multiple times. You're not going to see any of those things. So, I mean, it's going to be a way less entertaining fight than anything like this, for sure. Parker beats Ruiz. I don't know. I think that's a good fight, though. That's a good one. No offense to Mayweather. None taken. Can a smaller, lighter fighter like Floyd Mayweather train a giant Wilder? And that's what I was saying earlier. See, you're more to my time, or I'm closer to your time now. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, Floyd Mayweather getting in there and trying to train Deontay Wilder. Like, Deontay Wilder's not suited to learn anything that Floyd would teach him. A good teacher for Floyd, a good student for Floyd would be like Devin Haney or Demetrius Andrade, or somebody who's slick and who can use some of the things that Floyd would have to teach them. But Wilder's not able to counterpunch. He wouldn't be able to counterpunch like Floyd, or even remotely close to that, or even any version of that. Um, Wilder's not able to use lateral movement or movement like Floyd, or any version of that, or anything close to that. Um, Floyd probably could have taught him how to throw different kinds of right hands, though. I think that probably could have helped him in the fight with Fury, but you know, he could have learned something from Mayweather. I'm not saying that he wouldn't have learned anything from Mayweather, but I think um, it would have definitely. I don't know that it would have helped Wilder that much. It probably even could have made things worse, with Wilder trying to use some of the things that Floyd would have tried to teach him. Do you think AJ will ever fight Wilder or Fury? I damn sure hope so, man. Kenneth, I really hope so. I think AJ has gotten to this point in his career where he's more willing to take risks. I think after AJ lost to Louise, I think that really kind of taught him something. Like, listen, you might as well fight these guys, because even when you think you're taking a light touch, you're not really taking a light touch. So you might as well fight the dangerous guys if you have an opportunity and make the big money, rather than try to avoid these guys. And I think AJ has learned this. So because of that, I think AJ will fight anyone if he has an opportunity to. I think AJ would fight Wilder at this point. You know, I think he would, especially if he lost to Usyk again. So that means he would have lost to Usyk twice. Wilder would have lost to Fury 3 times, or twice officially. And um and yeah, them two coming together and fighting. I mean, why not? They have an opportunity to make big money. And I think the world's always wanted to know who's the better between AJ and Wilder. So I think that would still be an amazing fight. And then, you know, I'm kind of upset with AJ, because when I think about AJ, I think about that Klitschko fight. And I think about how much heart he showed in that Klitschko fight, getting up off the ground after Klitschko knocked him down, and then knocking Klitschko down. I would want to see something like that with Wilder. I want to see that same kind of fight. And I think that they could have that same kind of fight, but I'm not sure that AJ at this point has the hunger that he had, that he had back in the day when he fought Klitschko. So I don't know that it would be the same kind of fight just based on AJ. But I do think that at this point AJ would fight Wilder. I think that he's there now. He's kind of like, listen, I've already lost. What do I have to lose? I have everything to gain and nothing really to lose. So let's make the fight happen. That's how I'm thinking AJ is looking at this. Steve Mitchell says, Fury not lost to Wilder yet. 3 fights. First was a draw. Yeah. First one was a draw. But a lot of people say Wilder lost, which I get why, because Fury did win majority of the rounds. I probably would have give Fury in that first fight maybe about 9, 10 of the rounds. And then the only real rounds you could give Wilder is the rounds where he knocked Fury down in. So I can kind of see where people coming from with that. Those knockdowns do count. So the first fight was a draw. But even so, officially it's 2 losses to Fury. And AJ, if he loses to Usyk again, that would be 2 losses for him. Usyk versus Fury is next. I sure hope so, Ernest. MMA. No, dude, AJ struggles against 41-year-old Klitschko. Me struggles what in the fight? Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He had a life and death battle with Klitschko. Yeah. But it was a damn good fight. Do you remember that fight though? That was a damn good fight. It was a damn good fight. I want that same kind of fight with him and Wilder should that fight actually happen. But I'm just not sure that AJ has that same hunger. I feel like AJ gets touched by Wilder and gives up. Ray says Dillian's next, mate. Next for Fury. Dillian might be next for Fury. Maybe Fury takes out Dillian next. That'd be smart on his part because he's gonna have to wait for Usyk and AJ to resolve whatever it is that they have going on. He's gonna have to wait for that. So if he fought Dillian White in the meantime, that would be smart on Fury because I think he should be able to beat Dillian White pretty easily. At the end of the day, who's more happier in life, Tyson or Deontay? Deontay has $50 million in a bank, 4 beautiful children, lives in a mansion, 10 sports cars, while Tyson can rot. Oh man. Happiness in life is definitely important, for sure. So, I mean, but it's hard to say who's happier in life, you know what I mean? Because just because you have material possessions and things like that doesn't necessarily mean you're happier than the next person. You know what I mean? But that's for a whole nother conversation, Art. At the end of the day, Fury has the win. So he can at least ride home or write home happy about that. But he definitely had to work for this win. This wasn't no easy. This wasn't no easy win for no Tyson Fury, Well, he likes to throw the Dosser word out a lot and things like that, but Deontay Wilder definitely didn't fight like a Dosser tonight. This was a life and death war. Win, lose, or draw. Wilder probably be complaining in the next few days about Fury gloves having metal objects in them. Ah, man, come on, man. Why y'all doing that to Wilder, bro? Don't do that to Wilder, man. I don't do that to Wilder. He had a good performance. It was a great performance. I think we're going to hear Wilder come out in the next few days, and he's probably going to congratulate Tyson Fury on a great fight. That's what we're going to hear from Wilder. We ain't going to hear nothing about no gloves or nothing like that. I think we've heard what we're going to hear about that for the most part. Yet again. Steve Mitchell says, ha ha. Bobby Smoke says, more money, more problems. Stephen Mitchell says, personally, I'm not convinced Fury cheated, even in the second fight. I have not seen enough evidence. Well, I'm not one of those guys who's gonna, start trying to give you point after point about Fury cheating or whatnot. At the end of the day, I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't see anything. Nobody cheated me. I don't know. But I will say that Tyson Fury has a proven history of doing very unscrupulous things in order to get an edge in a fight. He has a history of being dishonest. And he has a history of doing dishonest things like testing positive for PEDs and things like that. So when I take that into consideration, along with the fact that in this second fight, if you compare the second fight to the first fight and this third fight, It's completely different. But why was it so different? Why was the second and third fight so different? Why was Fury able to do more damage to Wilder in the second fight when he had thrown less punches, when he had landed, he hit Wilder way more in this third fight than he did in that second fight. So why did he do so much damage in that second fight? So, when I take these things into consideration, it just makes me look at the situation as very sketchy. Art says, Albie Snake, how do you know you haven't got them? Plus, Deontay lives being a father to his beautiful kids and has a loving wife, lives in a hot country, living the dream. Wilder had no footwork. Yeah, man, footwork was bad. But that's not his strong suit, obviously. I mean, but there's things that he can do to help out with that, but he's just clearly not suited for it, Brian. And don't forget, Wilder got a badass wife too. Why y'all talking about these dudes' wives, bro? Y'all out of control in here, bro. How does more money give you more problems? Obviously, Art has no money. Oh man, y'all funny in here. Wilder went through the courts for a third fight because he wanted to get a beating again. Come on, Steve. Wilder made a good account of himself, man. He needed to go to the hospital. He took many headshots. Absolutely. Wilder fought a great fight. Give him credit. But he can't beat Fury. Laugh out loud. Well, not today he can, at least. Even the elephant has better footwork than Wilder. Yeah, man, Wilder looked very clunky, very disoriented, very everything. But yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead and end this live, guys. Man, I want to thank you guys for joining me on here, man. If any of you guys are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel, man. I always do this. I always talk boxing. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you all hit the like button, man. Very much appreciated if you did that. And I'll be back at you guys with another one, man. But until next time, peace.